So, Arsenal City today, boys. What's the score prediction from everyone? Unfortunately, we don't have an Arsenal fan because they're all too afraid to come on and watch Arsenal play Man City. That is the genuine reason they all flapped it. So, score prediction, Josh.
3-1 City.
No Saka, 3-0 City.
3-0 to City. Simon?
3-2 City.
Damn. Do you know what? I'm going to go 1-1.
This is why you get cooked.
Whoa. I've actually been on the good side of the comments this week.
1-1. It's fair. I mean, they've still got goals in the team. They've got Jesus up front. Trossard's a good player.
Trossard scores all the time.
Doesn't really do it for me. For a big six team leading the line, well, not exactly leading it, but I really do think they could get nailed here.
Haven't Arsenal remained undefeated in the league so far this season, though?
Just about, yeah.
I know they lost to Lens midweek, but a bit different.
Due to Fulham, yeah. But yeah, other than that, yeah, they are.
So I have a feeling that maybe people are playing them down a little bit. A strong defence, not lost in the league. I don't know. City are amazing, obviously. Is De Bruyne back in the lineup?
No.
Is he not even in training yet?
He's the last player for City to be fit. Obviously, they've got no Rodri because of a red card. Stupid red card, that.
Yeah.
But no, he's not back yet.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Anyway, right, should we jump into what is the first debate? And Dad, get off Twitter. Well, I'm here talking.
Trouble.
I'm trying to find it on YouTube. You can find me on the link.
I need to give him a mic, or whoever the producer is a mic.
Another camera in corner.
I could just put a little webcam up there.
Oh yeah, do that. Definitely.
Anyway, right. As the game's about to kick off, should we get into the first debate? And I think this is probably one of the biggest questions of all time in football, and it's probably a debate that every group of fans has had at some point. And that is, who do you think is the greatest footballer of all time? And I've got Messi or Ronaldo as the two, because I think it's not really between anyone else at all. But out of them two, who do you think's the GOAT?
I think it's Messi. I think it was Messi, but I could hear the Ronaldo arguments. But after the World Cup, I think
it's hard to really argue with it.
You can't.
Yeah, with me on that whole topic, Messi's a lot more of a naturally gifted footballer than Ronaldo, and I've got nothing but respect for Ronaldo because he's obviously put in a lot of work to get where he is. I'm not saying Messi hasn't, but it comes more naturally to Messi in terms of his footballing ability, whereas Ronaldo's like peak physical specimen.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? Sometimes I question if that's actually true. I know Messi's got the skills and stuff, but he's been playing football since he was a kid as well and worked to build up. He's just not got the attributes in a physical sense. But just because Ronaldo's bigger physically doesn't mean that Messi's not worked as hard to gain the.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. It's. I mean, if you look at his physique, if like Pixar were to do a footballer, it would look like Cristiano Ronaldo. But I think, like I say, overall, naturally, Messi is. He's a pure footballer. I think Ronaldo is the greatest goal scorer of all time because his numbers are up there and he can score pretty much every sort of goal.
I don't know.
Look at his numbers.
Yeah. Messi's not far off and he's played a lot less games.
True, but I just think Ronaldo goal scorer.
I think the whole hard work thing is a narrative that was created by Ronaldo fans to try and give Ronaldo a bit more. I mean, I'll give him his flowers. He is Mr. Champions League.
Yeah.
Like his Champions League record is.
I feel like
Messi
he's
out the water.
probably the biggest clutch player of all time.
Do you know, I've got a couple of facts here for you boys, which kind of goes into what you just said, Simon.
Just kicked off in the game.
Yeah, just kicked off in Arsenal City. Need to keep an eye on that. But in their career, right, Messi has had 721 goals and 344 assists in 887 games. And Ronaldo has had 726 goals and 231 assists in 978 games. So he's played about 100 more games, but only has 5 more goals and 100 less assists.
I think you've got to look at the teams that they've been a part of as well. You know, honestly, Messi's obviously been part of Barcelona for the vast majority of his career. I mean, I know he's moved on now. He's at PSG for a little bit. Man United, obviously Ronaldo was at Man United. He started off at Sporting, didn't he?
Yeah. He was barely at Sporting though. He was only there for
it was only a couple of games.
Again, I don't know about that. I mean, like Messi was part of an unbelievable Barcelona squad, but that Barca team that he was at before he left was falling off a little bit. And Ronaldo's been part of some. I mean, that team at United that he was part of was unbelievable. Yeah. And then that Madrid team that won three Champions Leagues in a row was absolutely unreal. Yeah. I mean, everyone says that Barca team was one of the best ever, but that Madrid team was up there as well easily. So
that Madrid team is one of the best of all time. And it was, I mean, at Juventus as well. Juventus at that point when he was there were by far the best team.
His goal returns for that Juventus when he went to Italy was nuts. He just went in for a few years, broke all the records, and just said, "Right, I'm off."
Yeah. I think. What do you think of the argument of that in terms of Ronaldo playing in better leagues apparently and having done it in more countries? Do you think that's a valid reason
I think he's got one up on Messi on that. To be honest, I think to go to those clubs and to essentially be one of their greatest ever players. I'd say like Madrid, Juventus, and United would probably put them in there. I think near their all-time 11, maybe. I don't know, but could Messi have done that? You never know, do you?
I mean, he did okay at PSG. His numbers were actually quite good, but not as amazing as people probably expected them to be. But he's in a team that was obviously Mbappe.
That's probably the only negative that you've got on Messi in his career is that he couldn't get that PSG team to the Champions League when he had, obviously himself. Then you had Neymar and Mbappe, and they brought in a lot of players. They brought in Donnarumma, Ramos that summer. They brought in
a solid 11, wasn't it, really?
So that's probably the only thing that you could say about Messi is that he wasn't able to get that PSG team to the Champions League and win it. But
he got Argentina to the World Cup.
And that's what I mean. And you actually look at that 11 in comparison to, say, like France's starting 11 and even England's. And you'd look at it on paper. I know it's obviously got Messi, but you take Messi away from that team, and it's not a very threatening side at all, is it? So he's done that on the biggest stage of all.
Another factor that I found really interesting. Obviously, you guys mentioned the Champions League, and I know Ronaldo has more overall goals, but both Messi and Ronaldo have been the top scorer of the Champions League, the whole competition, 6 times each. So they've kind of equal in that front. But then, obviously, Messi has 7 Ballon d'Ors compared to Ronaldo's 5. So that's kind of a statement in itself. But I mean, I suppose Ronaldo's won the Euros with Portugal, though.
Yeah,
which is a pretty impressive
Messi
feat.
Won the Copa
America as well,
with Argentina.
No, I totted up both players what I classed as major trophies. So that's like the main cup in the country, the league, and then Champions Leagues or European competitions, etc. And in total, Messi has won 33 major trophies and Ronaldo's on 24. But again, it comes back to the argument of Ronaldo's got 3 Premier Leagues, 2 Serie A's, 2 La Ligas, 5 Champions Leagues, and then a couple of Spanish Cups, FA Cups, League Cups and stuff. Whereas the majority of Messi's...
Very close from City there.
City on the attack with Ake.
He's got a score, really, hasn't he?
Misses a pretty easy chance, really.
It's not who you'd want to be there. Yeah, there you go. Of all people on City's team that you'd want to be in that position, he's probably one of the last. God.
Oof. A good clearance from, was it Gabriel?
I think it was Rice on the line.
Or was it Rice?
His back's against the wall stuff from Arsenal.
Yeah, if that was pretty much any other player other than Ake, you'd expect him to be at least getting that one on target.
Good keeping from Raya, to be fair, to put him under pressure.
Yeah, it was Rice in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think since the World Cup, it's game over. It's Messi for me personally. I think it was Messi the whole time, really. But there was always that argument of, well, they'd both done everything the same up until that World Cup, and yeah.
Well, do you know what? I actually fully agree. I think it's weird if anyone debates whether Messi's the greatest of all time at this point. Like, some people might try to say like Pele or Maradona or something, but Messi has literally won everything there is to win in the game, and I think he's part of the reason football has grown to the point it is now, if that makes sense. Like his skill and the eyes he's brought to it.
I think I get what you're saying. I think him and Ronaldo have that rivalry between the two.
It made it so interesting for everyone for years.
But he hasn't won everything that he's played in. He didn't win the French Cup when he was in PSG.
Did he not?
No.
Damn.
So
He's going to lose sleep over that one.
he hasn't won.
That one keeps him up at night, doesn't it?
He hasn't won every competition he's played in.
Well, they'll have to go back, won't they?
Well, Josh, United yesterday got off with a lucky escape.
Great escape.
Lucky escape.
What are you thinking about McTominay? I hear a lot of mixed stuff about McTominay. Do you like him as a player?
Sauce. Do you know what? Yeah.
McSauce.
I like him. The problem with McTominay, and it's been the issue that we've had with him the whole time, is that he's just not consistent enough to be a top 6 Premier League player.
Right.
He'll have a stretch of 3 or 4 games where you go, do you know what? He might not be the best midfielder in the league. He might not even be top 5 or top 10, but he's a solid player. You know, he's a Jordan Henderson-esque where he's going to do the job. He's going to do the dirty work. He might not always notice what he's doing, but then after he's done those 4 games, he'll have a stretch of 6 games where you think, fucking hell, what is this kid doing on the pitch here? Why is he here? I think that's the problem with McTominay, and I do like him as a player. You know, he's an academy player. He loves United, this, that, and the other, and he's given us some special moments. You know, like yesterday, 2 goals to win us the game. He scored a big goal in the derby against City to kind of put the icing on the cake, beating them. But I think that's the issue, is that we kind of have to be a bit more ruthless, where we kind of have to be like, look, as much as you've given the club, you're just not consistently good enough to be here, and we need to kind of move him on. But, you know, can't.
But do you not think he's better than, or he'll at least put more energy in than a lot of the other players that are around the club at the minute?
Possibly, but I think that's partially because he's not starting. So it's a bit like the Garnacho situation, where Garnacho starting a game probably isn't the best, but you put him on with 20 minutes, half an hour to go,
Can change the game,
and he's just going to run at that fullback for the next 20, 30 minutes, and he's just going to take him on, he's just going to kill him. And McTominay's kind of the same, where he'll come on for 20, 30 minutes, and he'll just run his arse off because that's what he's there for.
I think he's like back in day under Fergie with John O'Shea and Fletcher. He's like one of those sort of players, isn't he? And they were like perfect squad players. You need them in your squad to challenge and stuff. But United's problem, they don't really have anyone ahead of them, so you're relying on him too much, aren't you, at times? So
sometimes,
I think that's a bit unfair for him as well, because I agree. I don't think he's a starter going to start 30, 35 games and win the Premier League, is he? Unfortunately, but unfortunately, just using him a bit too much, aren't you? Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, he's a nice sub to bring on, because even though he can sit, because when he was a youngster, he played a lot up front.
Yeah, he did.
So he's got that. I think, you know, that's what helped us last night. Not yet last night. Yesterday.
Arsenal on the attack here on the edge of the box with Jesus.
Was that he kind of has a little bit of an
Arsenal
idea
corner.
of how to be in the positions in the box, and that's what he does a lot, where he'll kind of pop up in the box and just get
unexpectedly
a goal.
for the opposition as well.
Late runs, isn't
But
he,
it's
getting
because
into
he's
the
got
box,
that a little bit of knowledge of being a striker and playing that number 9 role, where he can kind of be in a decent position to, or if the keeper spills it, I can knock it in, or this, that, and the other. So he's got that
bit of anticipation.
He's got that in his repertoire, but it's just the inconsistency. If he was able to just play consistently, even not as good as he did yesterday, but just consistently good enough to come in and just play football and not make mistakes, I'd be like, do you know what? Let's keep him, have him on the bench, and he's a good rotation
So
player.
would you not even want to keep him as a bench player like he is now?
I'd keep it, like, do you know what? The thing, I don't know. It depends how much money people are offering. Like, West Ham offered us...
Show us the cash, baby.
Like, West Ham offered us 30 million in the summer for him. And I kind of thought, do you know what? I'd take that. Because we can use that 30 million, we can go and get somebody else.
How old is he? Is he mid-20s?
Late 20s, I think.
Is he late 20s now?
I'd say, well, mid-20s, 25, 26.
Mid to late, really, isn't it?
Like, he's young, but he's kind of going into his prime now, so you'd kind of say, right, this is who McTominay is now.
Yeah, these are the years he needs to be showing what type of player he is. And I think maybe for him as well, we said this about Maguire earlier in the season, but sometimes it's good for a player to go to a bit of a smaller team to really show what they're made
Like,
of.
I think McTominay would have been an absolutely unbelievable signing for West Ham.
Oh,
Yeah,
because
if he's starting week in,
West
week
Ham.
out,
he suits that West Ham, and he suits Moyes' football, where he's a big player, he's good in the air, and he gives everything every time he's on the pitch.
He wasn't offside.
Yeah, there's been a few of those calls. There was one in the Liverpool game earlier where Brighton were on the attack and it got called for offside, and then it wasn't, but they'd already called it.
Let's not
I
talk
didn't see
about
that one.
missed Liverpool calls, shall we?
Oh.
I'm sure they're still a bit sore about that one.
We'll see.
Replay the game.
No, don't replay the game. I think because that's unfair to Tottenham, and they didn't do anything wrong, quite frankly. So I think I was surprised when Klopp came out and said that, to be honest, because he's just built a rod for his own back there, and Liverpool fans just get abuse. I think all the Brighton fans were saying whenever there's a decision against them, they were chanting, "Oh, we want a replay, we want a replay." So that's brought on by
It creates
himself.
something, and it's not really necessary. Is
I
it?
just think, to be honest, I think people say, "Oh, we should be awarded points" and stuff like that. I don't know. It's hard because if I could choose, well, not choose, but if the most sensible option would be when we replay them at Anfield in the new year, whenever, just let us walk the ball into the goal. Maybe do that, because I think that's fair. I think it would be fair.
I think the problem is that it was an absolutely egregious call, absolutely terrible, cost Liverpool points, and it just completely killed them. But the problem is, once you start doing that, you create that narrative.
But that was an exceptional situation. Now that's not an every game situation.
It is, but then every week, all the fans that have a decision go against them are just going to call for a replay. They're just going to be like, well, why don't we replay the game? Why don't we? I mean,
that's just them just being pathetic and stupid.
But then what about the Brentford Forest game last week? What about when Turner kicked Visser when he was through? That should have been a penalty to Brentford, but it wasn't given by VAR. Did Brentford then have a shout at saying, oh, well, we deserve a replay because that was a missed call. The keeper should have had a red card and we should have had a penalty. Yeah. Like last weekend, every day there was football, there was an awful VAR decision.
There was, and unfortunately, they're always going to be. But the thing with the Diaz one, it was they knew that they'd made the mistake and they chose not to rectify it, and that's unacceptable.
So the problem, I think the problem is again, there's an issue with the rules, and they should have made an exception where once the ball's back in play, so once Tottenham took that free kick from the offside, they could then not go back. But I think that's stupid because, like you say, if they know they made a mistake, they should tell the referee and say, oh, no, I know we've kicked off, but actually, mate, that was a goal. That should have stood.
But they do that with, if you take a throw-in incorrectly, they stop and bring it back. If the ball's rolling on a free kick, they stop and take it back. So I just don't understand why they couldn't have done it.
It doesn't make sense why it's not being brought back. They can obviously, everybody can see clear as day that he's fucking comfortably onside. Just bring it back. No matter how far into the game you've gone, once you realise and you know that the mistake's been made, you just sort it out there, and then it's not a big issue.
Because it's literally human error at the end of the day, isn't it?
But it shouldn't be.
No, I know. But there's no reason then, even if, in my opinion anyway, if the game has carried on for even 10 minutes, and someone goes, oh, I just realised we've got that one wrong. That's like anything in life. You wouldn't then just say, oh, no, leave it then.
That's what they do in rugby. They do that in rugby now. So I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before when we've talked about VAR. But so, for example, the ref could give a booking to a player, send him to the sin bin, and for 10 minutes of the game, they can review that on TMO to see whether it should be a red card.
That was the England one.
That's what they should do. And
should take a lot from rugby, really.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's what I don't understand why the PGMOL have come out after the game and said they've made a mistake. They did the same in the Wolves game, and I think all you're doing is making things worse for VAR, which, if we're honest, 99% of football fans think is fucking shite anyway. So why? Everybody knows it was a mistake, but why come out and say it? Because now all they've done is created a narrative. And like you said, Spurs did nothing wrong in that game. And actually, they did well to get a point against a good Liverpool side. And Spurs, Liverpool, big game. All anyone's talked about for the last week is the fact that VAR got it wrong. Yeah. And it's just killed the game. And the reason people have talked about it as much as they have is because the PGMOL have come out and said, oh, sorry, we got it wrong. Well, if you're going to admit it after the game, just admit it during the game and change the game. Yeah. Why admit it after?
I'm sure there was an incident back in early 2000s in the FA Cup with Arsenal and Sheffield United, and I think there was a free kick, and I think Arsenal were meant to give the ball back to Sheffield United, but I think they went on and scored, and then like Steve Bruce, I think the manager at the time for Sheffield, like told his players to come off. Oh, we're not playing. We're not going to play anymore. And I think eventually the game restarted, and then I think Arsenal just let Sheffield United walk the ball into there. Something like that happened, and it can happen like in game. So I just don't understand why it couldn't have happened last week.
Yeah, I think when it's something that obvious as well. Yeah. So, in your opinion, on the topic of VAR, in its current state, do you think the game is better with or without VAR?
I think you do kind of need some kind of assistance, but it's tough because some of the decisions that people cry out about, not obviously that one, that's not the example I'm using, it's subjective because people look at things differently. It's going to be hard to please everyone, but in the current state that it's in, it does need to be better because it can't carry on like this, really.
The championship.
That's the thing.
Do you know what I think? It is? I think the issue isn't VAR. I think the idea of VAR is brilliant, and football needs it.
Yeah,
I think it's the people using it, and the refereeing in this country every year just seems to get worse and worse.
It's shocking.
The referee, to say that he's widely considered as the best league in world football. The refereeing is atrocious, and it seems to be every week. That's all anyone ever talks about. It's not the football. It's just the lack of quality in the refereeing. It's just like you think, why can't we just get the best refs? Or
Because it used to be all right, didn't it? It used to be decent and like
We
you
had
know
the
it's
big man
fair.
Tim
And,
Allen.
I mean, are they not fit enough? Can they not just keep up with play? What is it? I don't know what it is. You know, like,
Yeah,
why are they all suddenly so bad?
I think the issue is that they've just become so slack with it because they think, oh well, VAR's there.
It'll say
I-
this.
If I don't make the right decision, and I think a lot of the times refs have now become scared to make decisions. Whereas I think before, when you had referees like Howard Webb, whether everyone's got their opinions on him. I think he was a fucking brilliant referee.
Yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, of course.
History. But
Man City nearly got a goal in there.
But he wasn't afraid to make a game-changing decision. He said, "This is my decision. This is what I'm saying.
Stick by
End
your
of
guns,
story."
innit?
So I think VAR as an idea is perfect for football. It's the people using it and the inconsistency of it. Like the inconsistency of handball is just absolutely criminal.
It's
I
mental,
think.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
I just don't know.
And I
Every
know
week it's
everything's
changing.
subjective with handball. Sometimes, look, a player can't help it, but it's just mental. You think, how can you just not have a consistent thing where you say, right, okay, these are the guidelines. Does it tick these boxes? Yes. Right, it's a handball. Well, no, it's not ticked 3 out of 4 boxes. Okay, it's not handball.
Yeah.
And it's just simple.
It seems like there's too much of a personal view or personal opinion coming into a lot of the decisions. And the problem is, as you said, there should be those guidelines, but I think there'll always be a little bit of that. It's the person that's watching it is going to decide to a certain extent. So what do you think of the calls to have ex-players get involved a little bit more?
I think so. I do.
Why do you not?
Fuck it. Like Gabby Abongno, the guy that talks utter shit.
Well, no,
Oh,
obviously
God,
you
yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah,
You
yeah.
wouldn't have him, would you?
But then who? Like, I don't know. I think then you just causing, because say you get Arsenal City, right, and then you get somebody that's not an ex-Arsenal player, an ex-City player, but he used to play for United.
Yeah, there's always going to be. Oh, he used to play, so it's there's always
There's
going to be
always
that.
Surely you could get players from abroad or from lower in the leagues, though.
Yeah.
Or there's plenty of footballers.
But then I don't know. I guess you just.
They say that referees they know the rules, but they don't know the game, do they?
So they don't
Right, so
really
I think
play.
if you get ex-footballers or
I think the only way that you could do it is maybe if you got an ex-footballer in there to consult. So at the end of the day, the referees are in there to make the final decision, but they can consult an ex-player to say, right, okay, what do you think in this situation? How, as an ex-football player, you know the game.
I feel like
playing
with
it.
this though, and with VAR as a whole, it's too many different opinions. And you look at it, not everybody's going to see eye to eye on every single thing, and then you get the uncertainty, and then the hesitation, and then what happened last week. They end up just playing and don't come back to it because people are hesitating. They're not actually just putting their own stamp on it because there's too many different people who've got different input.
No.
So I don't know. It's good though because players do know the game. It'd be good to get them in on it, but it's just too many opinions.
So, I mean, and on what you said, Josh, about having players in as more consultant type things. At the same time, a lot of people's main problem with VAR already is the amount of time it takes up. Like when you think you've scored a goal and then you've got to sit and wait for VAR for 5 minutes, it kind of destroys the game a little bit. So if then you add another factor of authentication in there, where they've got the ref will make the decision and then it'll go to VAR and they'll check it and then they'll consult a player. It's just going to add more layers that it's just going to anger people.
I get that, but I think people would relax on it if the decisions were correct. So if it took 5 minutes but they came to the right decision, then you kind of go, well, it took 5 minutes, but at least the decision
if you
was
can
right.
hear what they're saying as well. I think if you can hear what they're
I
saying,
think that should be the
yeah,
other thing. But then,
definitely.
because they have that in rugby as well. When you're watching rugby on TV, you can hear the communications from the TMO to the referee.
But I think they have that in some other football
I think
leagues
they've
in
got it in the French
Australia
league. I
and
think they've got
French
it in the
league and
French
stuff.
league, and I think it adds to it. I think it adds to the drama of it.
It's
to be
good
honest.
to know to understand their process, their thought process behind the decisions.
But it's
that are
like you
getting
said
made.
as well, because in the Liverpool game the other day, Man City have been on the attack here a little bit. There was nearly a fuck up from Raya, but he managed to just get away with it. But
Got
it's
away
still
with one, didn't he?
0-0 for now.
Oh.
But I think as well, the other thing that they shouldn't do is they shouldn't put the replays on the screens in the stadium.
Yeah.
Because I think if, say for example, there's a massive decision in this game against, say there's a potential red card for City, and they see the replay on the screen, all the Arsenal fans go, oh, send him off, and the referee that goes to the screen is going to
He's
get
influenced, isn't he?
influenced. So I think again they shouldn't be doing that. They should just have on the screen VAR decision, check impossible, and they should leave it on that purple screen that they have.
Yeah, I'd agree with that one.
Yeah.
I think, as you said, the annoying thing about it is most people are aware of the fact that VAR should definitely be a thing. It should definitely be implemented in some way, shape, or form.
It needs to be, really.
It's just the current way of doing it is miles off.
But I think as well, the other issue is it's still technically kind of in its infancy. Like it's still only been around for a couple of years.
But it's been around in other sports and in other countries' football leagues for years, so they shouldn't have started with this many issues.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I guess you kind of give them a little bit where you go. I mean, it should now be getting to the point where everything's ironed out and everything's sorted. But I guess you could kind of say at least it's not been around for 10 years and they're still making the fucking errors that they are.
Yeah.
No, there is that to kind of make you feel a little bit better about it.
But at the end of it, like I said, I think it comes down to just the lack of quality in refereeing in this country. I think that's ultimately what it is.
Man City got the ball on the edge of the box again. Man City have been on the attack for a while now. I'd say they've been having the better start to this game.
Got them penned in, haven't they?
Yeah. Arsenal at the Emirates is going to be getting...
Who'd have guessed it?
And I think Arsenal, we know Saka as well makes a huge difference to how they're going to do today. Oh, that was a pretty
Josh
poor
was saying
challenge from
earlier,
Bernardo
though,
Silva.
I think even Arsenal fans might be quite happy to. I mean, I know they'll obviously want Saka in, but Arteta's killing that boy. There was no need. There was no need to start him midweek against Lens when he's already carrying. So I'm just glad that he's not in that squad. As an England fan as well,
that's what I mean. Is he going to play for England? And is he in? He's in the squad, isn't he? Yeah.
I feel like he should pull out.
Yeah, it's just
give him time. We don't want to fucking run him into the ground. You got to think long term as well.
That's what happened to Michael Owen. He just played him too much, did his hamstring and never recovered.
You've got to look at Southgate as well and think, why are you picking him?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You've got, Jared Bowen, who's absolutely flying in the league at the moment, who's got 4 or 5 goals already in the league. Just pick him.
Bowen's in the team.
Give Saka a call and say, look, lad, you are my first choice right winger. You're carrying a knock. Just have a week off.
It's sensible. It's good management.
That's why you're not in the squad. And just explain to him, you're not in the squad because of this. And then he'd probably turn around and say, do you know what, Gaffer, cheers for that.
Yeah. That works well for all parties as well. City in the box. Oh.
But Bowen's in this England squad. Even with Saka. It's James Ward-Prowse that's missed out again when he shouldn't have.
Yeah, hasn't Ward-Prowse had the most, a goal or assist every game so far this season?
Not now,
but there was
I think there was 5 or 6, his first 5 or 6 games
in a row,
he had a goal he had goal involvements in
no
every
call
game.
up.
So how is he not getting in the team? I love Calvin Phillips, obviously an ex-Leeds player, but there is no way that
Same
he
with
should
Henderson.
still be.
Henderson should not be in that.
No, it's ridiculous. Henderson's even lower down the pecking order than Phillips, in my opinion. At least Phillips is training with the best players in the world. Yeah. Henderson's got 2 good players around him.
Yeah, it is pretty mental. But we've always got this, and we're always going to have problems with the initial squad. But it is a bit of a joke. And at the end of the day, we've got the Euros at the end of the season. Yeah, I mean, I hope we win it. We've got a good chance of winning it. But I think even if we win it, we need to explore other areas in terms of management. But if he wins it,
this is the first time I've heard you ever say that maybe Southgate isn't the right.
No, but I said even after the World Cup, we went out and in a quarter-final against France. But I did think we were the better team on the night, so I didn't really have a sour taste in my mouth. And I thought, if he leaves, who are we going to get? So when he said that he was going to stay, I thought, give him one more tournament. If we don't win it, then we should move on. But if we do win it, then you can't really get rid of him, can you?
Nah, that's true. If you win the tournament, you can't then fire him.
But
he might walk though. If we won it, he might say.
I feel like he might just end on a high.
But would you? You'd then want to go win the World Cup, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Does his contract finish at the end?
2024. Yeah.
So
But they've already. I remember a few months ago they already came out and said that he's probably going to go after the Euros because they said that there was all those rumours that Pep was top of their shortlist for replacements for him and this, that, and the other.
Arsenal got the ball in the box with Jesus. Offside, foul, something.
Foul on Foden, shoved him in the back. It was a foul. I think the other egregious one is unless Wilson's got a knock. How Eddie Nketiah's got in that squad is fucking criminal.
Yeah, that's bizarre as well.
Absolutely criminal.
Watch him, he'll score a hat-trick today. Then.
No, he said that. That's normally how it works.
Yeah, he shouldn't be in the squad.
I don't think so
Absolutely criminal.
I'm not sure. Eddie, he never seems to do that well. I don't know what the ratings are for around him.
I think it's just because he's at Arsenal.
Yeah, but he's been at Arsenal for years now, and do you know what I mean? Though, a lot of people still think, oh yeah, he's quite, and he's not even that young anymore. Isn't he? Like 25,
24, 25.
I wouldn't even have him in top 5 English strikers. Not even top 10. Struggle, mate. I think we've got Kane. I honestly think Tony's the second best striker that we've got. It'd be interesting to get him back into the mix in January, and then I'll probably put Wilson in there. At number 3.
Watkins as well.
Oh,
doing well.
Watkins.
Yeah.
God, he slipped my mind. I'd
yeah.
probably put Watkins ahead of Wilson.
Don't forget about Patrick Bamford. Oh,
Shut your
Patrick
fucking
and get you with a good shot there. Imagine if he'd have scored as we're slewing him.
the England international, Patrick
I,
Bamford.
don't, I think he would. I think he'd be top 10 just by default.
Top 10, yeah,
By
because you're
default.
running out of fucking
I just
players.
don't think he's a natural finisher. I just don't think he's a natural finisher.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he'd be all right. Again,
just
I
a
think
great
he's a
shot,
bit
though.
like Maguire or McTominay, where
If he went to like Palace or something.
he'd be all right at a smaller team. But I think being at Arsenal or being at a top 6 side, there's that expectation where you've got to kind of not score every game, but you've got to kind of be in the mix or looking like you will type thing. I mean, I think fucking Haaland's killed a load of strikers because now
Oh,
everyone
yeah,
expects the top
Exactly, yeah.
strikers to be scoring every week. When actually, this kid's just a fucking animal.
Yeah, he's a goal scoring machine, isn't he?
But no, I don't think he's good. I think he's there because Tony's suspended personally, and Wilson could be injured.
Well, I mean, Tony's clearly on a whole different level.
No, it's a shame.
But I could, to be honest with you, I hate to say it, but I could see him going to Arsenal in January.
Oh, I
Well,
could.
yeah, there's rumours, aren't there? There's between them and Spurs.
He'd
isn't
be a
it?
great signing.
Do you know what? I think that'd actually be perfect for Arsenal.
Yeah.
And Tottenham as well.
That's
I
the
think
one
Tottenham are
position they're
interested.
missing.
I
isn't
think
it?
I could, if he went to Arsenal and he's able to fight. I think the only issue with Tony now is he able to find his form again after
Yeah.
that long out of football.
I think he'll be
I
alright.
think that's the only question. So I think this season,
Hit it.
when he comes back in January, I think he'd be smart to stay at Brentford. To be honest, just allow him to have
Finish
that,
the season,
that
definitely.
last few months of the season, just to get back into the swing of
Because
playing football.
even if
again.
he is a bit poor there, the fans will give him a bit
Yeah,
more
yeah. Oh,
time,
yeah.
a bit more leeway to actually
And
get
it-
back into things.
And at the end of the day as well, is at Brentford. I mean, if he goes to Arsenal in January, he's going to cost 60 odd million. Arsenal fans are going to expect instant, returns.
That looked like a pretty poor foul. Was it Kovacic?
Kovacic, yeah.
I tell you what, I've got both my cards on my bet.
Who were the other?
Jorginho.
He went flying in on
I
Odegaard
want to see
there.
this replay. That.
Yeah. See if could be a red. Studs up on the ankle.
If Jones was sent off last week,
Ooh.
That could easily be a red card there.
I think they'll review
should
that.
be a red. That they're going on what they went the other week.
Yeah, I think they're going VAR for that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it probably is, personally.
When they look at it, they'll
Studs up
slow it
straight
down
on his
as well.
ankle. Didn't get the ball.
I don't know. he
I
might
I think
just
the
booked
only
him, so
argument he might
have got
have-
away with it,
He's got away with that, hasn't he?
I think the only argument he might have is it was quite
Oh,
low.
Here we go.
I think the only argument he might have is
Oh,
that
no, that's
That's
off.
bad. That is
Yeah,
really
no,
bad.
seeing that angle,
From
he's-
behind as well.
He's off.
He's got to go for that.
yeah, that's a red, isn't it?
It's got to be.
He's
Surely.
late, studs up.
That other angle, that first one that he showed us then, were fucking bad. Oh.
Yeah. If that's not a red card, it literally goes back to
And
our
that's-
previous point a minute ago.
That's what I mean. if
Like a
you-
But
Yeah.
this is the thing,
Consistency.
when all of us can sit around the table and say that's definitely a red, but we're still not sure what decision's going to be made, is absolutely mental.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, when you put it like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy
Yeah.
because it wouldn't surprise me if they say, "Well, no, the referee made this decision, so we'll just keep it at that."
Is he not going?
They've left it as yellow.
What? How?
This
That
is.
is-
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Bro, that's a joke.
But do you know what I think the issue is? I think that the referees are scared to change.
Yeah, the
games.
referee gave a yellow then because he thought, well,
Do you know what? I don't disagree with the yellow from the referee because he thinks, you know what? I've got VAR. Let me give a
Yeah,
yellow
yeah, I get-
and
yeah,
let
I get
VAR
that, yeah.
review it because if it's a
Yeah.
red, they'll send it to the monitor.
Yeah.
But he doesn't want to give a red and then completely change the game for a challenge that isn't a red card. So I don't disagree with the referee's decision there. I think VAR are
VAR.
scared to change a game of this magnitude.
but this is what, yeah. How can they be afraid though? Because that is such a clear red card, and as
Yeah.
you said, this game is one of those that could actually come down to deciding the league, and not only because of the points in this game, but the form that it'll leave either team in.
it's just
City down to 10 men at the Emirates, you'd then expect Arsenal to really push for it. And in my opinion, that was 110% a red card. I
more
don't
so,
even
more
doubt
so
it.
than the Curtis Jones one, and that's just what makes
That-
it
that's
so
Curtis Jones,
frustrating.
exactly.
So
never mind the
frustrating.
I mean, I know it was reversed, but that's 10 times worse than the McAllister one.
Yeah, well,
It
yeah.
was a red as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that it's just daft.
So that's what I mean. It's just we come here to watch the game, enjoy the game, but it's just so frustrating as
Well, that-
fans, isn't it? Just to watch the game, and it's
That
just
one
so
decision there
frustrating.
is gonna change our opinions on the whole game now.
Yeah.
Because if City go and win 1 or 2-0, we'll all say, well, yeah, but they should have been down to 10 men. And I mean, if Arsenal pull it off, then you won't think about it as much. But
Nah, of course.
yeah, Arsenal on the edge of the City box here with a free kick.
That's what I mean now. VAR will pray that Arsenal win now, won't they?
Yeah.
It's just egregious. You just
It actually ruins it a bit, though.
It does. It really does.
Do you know what? It's a bit lucky that Odegaard didn't end up with a bad injury there as well.
Yeah, that's an ankle breaker. That
Yeah.
You could cause serious injury there, and he's obviously not intended to cause serious injury, but he could have.
It was from behind though, wasn't it? I think that's what makes it a bit more.
I think the only thing that you could say is maybe it's a little lower. You know, like the Curtis Jones one, he was because he's gone over the ball. He was higher up on the leg, but even still, like
it was like coming down, not like going up.
Yeah.
You find like this is what annoys me. I find myself making excuses for VAR to make the right because they've made the right decision, even though it's clearly not. Like you start giving them like the bit. Oh, well, maybe it's no.
Maybe they're looking at it this way. Maybe they're looking at it that way.
Who's looking at it and going, no, that's not a red card. You just
It's
you
mental,
wonder, don't
like
you? Just think, what are they watching?
You need to hear it.
You do exactly.
You really do. Just to kind of put any.
It's like I imagine it's people that have gone to a university for football but never actually watched a game. They've just watched clips on in their lesson, and then they've gone, oh well, based on the clips I've watched. Oh, it's someone that's never played in their life. It's crazy. City in the Arsenal box again.
Yeah,
it's been end to end this, but there's not been.
If you can hear it, then at least you get an explanation
major
for why they think it's not that.
Yeah.
Like you can hear them say, "Well, I don't think it's a red card because he's gone for the ball, it's low," and you go, "Right, okay, I disagree with the decision, but at least I know why they made the decision."
No, exactly. It's some justification behind the decisions because you've got to think some of the decisions that they make. We're sat here watching as fans, thinking, how have they come to that conclusion? And I just think it'd clear it up for everyone. And it's an easy thing to do. Because they released the audio of what happened in the Liverpool
They've got
game.
it.
So they've got it. Why? What are they hiding?
I know, yeah. It's just,
What are they hiding?
Yeah, especially if they, as Josh said earlier, if they're then going to come out and say the decision was definitely wrong anyway, well, why not just let the people hear the original dialogue
now and stop all the hysteria?
I just think it's so stupid that they apologise after the game because it changes fuck all.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to replay the game. Realistically, Spurs aren't going to give you a goal the next time you play them. So them coming out apologising, Klopp doing everything that he's done, it's irrelevant because it's going to do fuck all. So why not just keep your mouth shut and say, look, lads, you shagged it here behind closed doors and just call it a day on that and let the fans dispute it.
Alvarez with a shot on the edge of the Arsenal box, which nearly went out the stadium.
He's a baller, to be fair. Yeah, he really is. Him and Haaland, like, leading a line is pretty fucking scary for the rest of the league if they weren't scary enough as it is.
Yeah, it's a pretty mad combination.
Yeah.
Speaking of Manchester City, one of the topics for today is around if Manchester City win the league for the 4th time in the row, will the Premier League then start to look a little bit like some of these other leagues that we always insult, like the French league, like the Spanish league, etc.?
I think with Man City at the moment it does.
I think if you look on the surface, or they've won it 4 years in a row, you think, well, that's quite boring. But I think the Premier League it's just too exciting the way it is right now for it to be.
It's gone down to a point a couple of times.
Yeah, they beat us by a point on two occasions and stuff. I don't think it can ever be called a Farmers League or anything silly like that. I think
that's
there's just too
he
many
should be off
teams,
there.
So.
He should be off. He's just made another foul that's a bookable offence. He should be off.
Is it Kovacic again?
Oh, he's got to go.
He should be off.
Is he not giving him a second yellow for that?
No.
I didn't see the
Watch
challenge.
this. He should be off here.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's got to be a second yellow for Kovacic.
That's
surely.
a joke. How's he still on the pitch?
Oh my, that could have been a red as well.
Ridiculous.
Is he not been given a second booking for that?
No. And the problem is VAR doesn't review bookings.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's
You know, that's actually
atrocious.
baffled me.
That's
they're not helping themselves.
That is bad refereeing. That's bad refereeing. And I tell you what, the worst thing about that is if he wasn't booked already, he would have booked him.
Yeah, probably would have.
That's the annoying thing about sometimes when players are on a yellow. They let the facts that they're already on a yellow influence the decision.
Yeah, it was like
you shouldn't be going in like that when you're on a yellow card.
It was like Newcastle, Liverpool when Trent got that booking, that stupid booking for throwing the ball, and then 2 minutes later he's ragging Gordon to the ground.
Yeah.
And you think, well, if he didn't get that first booking, he'd have got booked for that.
Same with Jota as well. When he got booked for, well, he didn't do anything. The other guy clipped his knee, and then obviously he was pissed off because of that. So then he lunged in the second time.
That was a stupid. I don't know.
It was really stupid, but it's just
the first one wasn't a booking, but he should never have flown in like a but. It's stupid.
That's what I mean. It's like one of the biggest games in world football, and all we're talking about is just refereeing.
It's annoying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's angering. But back to my Man City topic, right? Got sidetracked there by another stupid Kovacic foul. I see a lot of people, and Josh, you're a big culprit for this, insulting other leagues in comparison to the Premier League, saying the Farmers Leagues, etc. Oh, Bayern Munich have won it 11 times in a row. No. But if you actually look at the other leagues in comparison to the Premier League, there's not that much of a difference. So, for example, PSG have won 8 out of the last 10 Ligue 1s, right? But they've only won 3 in a row at any point. If Manchester City win the Premier League this year, they'll have won 6 out of the last 10 and won 4 in a row. So how are we then any different to the French League, really? Because there's been a few seasons over there where other teams have been within a point or two as well. I appreciate that it's still close, and especially contention for the top 4 spots in the Premier League is still massive. I mean, even the top 6 at this point. But at what point do you say, Man City, every year they've got by far the best team, and then they go pick up even better players with practically a budget that doesn't matter. They've had the best manager in the world for how long now? 4 or 5 seasons. Won the treble last year, improved the team again in the summer. How are we any different? How are they any different to a PSG if they win the 4th league title in a row?
Because the quality of the Premier League makes it not a farmers' league. Like Simon said, Liverpool have pushed City to the final day twice.
Yeah, but that happens in other leagues as well. It's not just.
I mean, it's right. I think it's how other teams perform in the league. Like Liverpool won the Champions League, Chelsea have won it recently, West Ham last season and stuff. I think it's how other teams not necessarily play against City or compete against them, but more how they compete in their own little seasons. And I think that's why the Premier League will never ever be a farmers' league.
Would you have made the same argument when United were flying, they'd won 3 leagues in a row, and you was looking at potentially winning a 4th in a row? We had the best manager in the world. We had a budget that was almost limitless. Would you have said the Premier League was a farmers' league then?
Well, no, I'm not saying it's a farmers' league. My argument more is, and I think this has become more prevalent in the last maybe 10, 15 years, is there's a lot of English fans that seem to think every other league is pretty atrocious, and they go, oh well, yeah, there's only like one team in that league. About half the leagues around the world.
I think the Scottish league's a farmers' league.
Oh, well, no, yeah, but I'm not.
That's what I see it as, a farmers' league.
I think it has. They have been. I think the Italian league has made strides forward because there seems to be a different champion almost every year in the Italian league. So even though the quality of the league might not be quite as good, at least it's constantly changing.
It's like the championship in this country, isn't it? It's like it's always changing.
Well, no, but even like for example, the Spanish league, there's been a different champion the last 3 years. It was Barca, then Real, then Atletico.
I've never thought that the Spanish was a farmers' league. No. I mean, to be honest with you, you can't really say the Spanish league is a farmers' league when they have a fucking European champion at least every year in one of the European competitions.
We've got the biggest club in the world. It's just.
I mean, I see a farmers' league is like basically just one big team just hoovering up everything else, like Celtic do in Scotland.
I think
that's how I see.
In Europe, the only farmers' leagues that I see are the Bundesliga and the French league. Personally. And
I say not Bundesliga for me. I know Bayern win it quite a bit, but you've got to look at the size of some of the other teams in there.
But it's not.
But it goes back to like what Simon was saying. The German teams always do quite well in Europe. There's always a German team. It was only a couple of years back that it was Bayern against Dortmund in the Champions League final, and then you've got what was it? Frankfurt won the Europa League last season.
But then what happened to that? But then what happened to that Dortmund team? I think
it might have been season before.
But then what happened to that Dortmund team? 3 of their best players went to Bayern.
Yeah. Well, I know
that's one of the reasons why I think the Bundesliga is a farmers' league, because all the best players, all the best managers just end up at Bayern Munich. They just buy all the. I mean, like last season, Neuer got injured. So what did they do? They went out and bought the second best keeper in the league, Sommer. They just brought him in.
But in a way, that's how when Manchester City started out becoming a really good Premier League team. Look at some of the players they signed to kind of boot that off. You got like Kyle Walker, who was the best fullback in the league at the time. Signed him. Or
at the time, Walker was when Walker was at Spurs. I questioned his quality. To be honest, I think now that he's at City, he's become Kyle Walker. At the time, I was a bit questioning.
But you see the potential there because he was young. He was young at the time.
He always had the athleticism. He was decent, but he was prone to a lot of mistakes. Whereas now, you can't say the same. But that's starting out, and you kind of go, well, yeah, fair enough. But Bayern aren't starting out. They've been doing this for.
A good cross in the box from Man City there, which leads to their corner.
I think he might.
And that's what I mean is. Bayern have won the league 11 times in a row, and yet they're still buying up the best players in the league. That's not handball. And that's one of the reasons why I think that's a farmers' league, because all the best players. just
but
got
I don't think you can say it's a farmers league when all the other teams are still like. There's still a lot of other good teams there.
I think
they win European trophies. They get to the semi-final and final European
you can-
competitions
you
every
can have-
year. No, but if you're comparing it to other leagues and their teams are doing just as good as the other, how can you say it's a farmers league?
I don't think.
I think the 4 big leagues, the Premier League, Serie A, Spain, and Germany. I don't think they'll ever be farmers leagues because there's too much history. There's too many good big clubs in there. So I don't. Even though Bayern Munich have won the last 10 or 11, which on paper looks ridiculously boring, but it's still competitive. It's still. Do you know what I mean?
There's other things that
still
you're
a
playing
league
for
there,
as
isn't
well.
there?
You
And
still
they do
playing
well
for
in
Champions
Europe.
League spots,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Do you think the French league is a farmers
I do,
league?
yeah.
Absolutely.
But they've had more different. They've had different champions than the Bundesliga.
That's
More
true.
teams have won it recently than the Bundesliga.
don't think-
That's true. That's true. But with all due respect, the French league, it's not. It's not a
I
world-beating
think
league,
I
is it?
think the
Yeah.
French league is a farmers league, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
that they've had more champions
Yeah.
than the
Oh,
Bundesliga have in recent
that's
times.
True. That's true. Yeah. So technically, it makes it more of an exciting league, then I guess. But I just think it's how the other teams perform in that season as well.
I don't know. I don't even particularly. I would say the French league is more of a farmers league than the Bundesliga. Just,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but then when you listen to your argument, it's more because it's very rare that a team in the French league do anything other than maybe come second, 20 points below PSG. Whereas at least even if Bayern Munich are dominating the league a lot of the time,
Look
which
at
is
last
closer.
season, it went down to the last day.
Yeah.
Dortmund
fucked
Yeah,
up.
yeah, they
fucked
did,
up.
didn't
They ended
yeah.
up drawing, didn't they, on the last day of the season, which meant that I think Bayern Munich might have won it on goal difference or something
Yeah, I think it was
ridiculous.
1 or
Yeah,
2
that's right,
points
yeah.
or something. Or was it goal
Goal
difference?
I think it was
it
goal
was, yeah.
difference. I mean, imagine winning the league on goal difference. It's
Yeah,
pretty-
and you've got teams winning the Europa League, etc. Whereas when was the last time a French league team won a European trophy?
Is it Marseille or something?
Yeah, in the early 2000s
Yeah,
potentially.
There you go.
UEFA Cup or something like that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But I see Dortmund and Frankfurt and even Union Berlin getting in the Champions League. I remember going to see them in the Bundesliga too a couple of years back, and they've managed to get all the way to the top 4 of the Bundesliga. It's pretty impressive. But what are your thoughts on maybe the amount of money in English football as a whole? Obviously, not just Manchester City, but you're seeing the rise of Newcastle at the minute. And how much money there. To be honest, they've not spent that much. I don't like that argument. But they're probably going to start to spend more. And these state-owned teams, obviously Manchester City is a team owned by a state that is now going to have dominated and won the Premier League for the last 4 years in a row. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the big reason why City can spend as much as they do is because the revenue is so high as well. Newcastle revenue isn't quite where it is where City's is, and I think that's one of the reasons why they've not been able to go out and spend, because I think FFP is a lot stricter now than when City first started out.
Yeah,
and
I'd say so.
that sort of thing. But I think it's good, but it's also kind of bad because it makes every transfer either a boom or a bust. So if you look at, say, Maguire, for example, at United, we signed him for 80 million, put him on an absolute wedge, and now nobody wants to buy him. And none of the European teams will come in and buy him either because they can't afford to match those wages. So you're kind of in a situation where every transfer that teams make have to pay off, or you're making a big financial loss because you can't sell him for what you bought him for, and you're going to have to give him some money to go because the contract that he gets from the other team isn't going to be as good as it is where you are.
That's why Chelsea are knackered, aren't they? Because they've got all those players on
8-year.
8-year contracts for Cillian. No one's going to.
Chelsea are in a situation where they've
Why would
mortgaged their future for the present. And to be fair,
Well, no, I think they've mortgaged the future for potential.
yeah,
It's
I
more
suppose.
they're doing it because of the financial reasons of they're looking at players as more as assets as opposed to anything else. So they've bought the youngest players on the longest contracts in the hope that if they improve a little bit in terms of an asset, they've got an asset signed for that long that the value of the club is going to be astronomical. But it massively depends on how good those players actually get. If a few of them
It's a
flop, they're
gamble.
fucked.
It's a massive gamble, isn't it?
But yeah, like you said, Josh, I also I think it comes into, as you said, every transfer has to be a hit, otherwise it's a big financial loss. And I think part of the reason for that is every other league now looks at the Premier League and goes, "Yeah, go on then." Like, well, or even other Premier League teams do it to each other, and all the players know that they can probably ask for a little bit more. Whereas when you look at a lot of the other leagues, it doesn't seem like that's the case. I think like Barcelona fell into that trap a little bit, where signing players on quite long contracts that then ended up failing, and they had like Coutinho and Umtiti and stuff like that were on Dembele that were on a lot of money. But the Premier League is, it's a bit worrying as well because all it takes is one of these owners that's just to get a bit bored, just to say, nah, we're done with this. Like, we've lost 200 million here. We're 400 million in debt. Because if you look at a lot of the teams, City and Arsenal are, but like United and Tottenham, I think it is, are in a hell of. I know Tottenham is mainly because of the stadium, but their debt figures are massive.
Well, I mean, Liverpool, a couple of weeks ago, we got 150 million investment or something like that, and all the fans like, oh yeah, let's put that into transfers, and the club just said no, we're just going to put it into our debt. That's what it's gone straight into the debt now to pay off some of the debt. So that's
sensible,
where
Liverpool.
Well, it is sensible, I guess, but it's just the way the club's been run nowadays, isn't it? So
the thing, I don't know. I mean, we're getting into finances and stuff, but from what I've seen from a lot of kind of millionaires and stuff, debt isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you can use your debt to leverage other things. So, I mean, the thing is that, like, say for example, United, the level of debt is just fucking nuts. Like, that is obviously just bad debt. I mean, when you combine the money that was used to leverage buy out the club, and then the money that we're in debt for transfers that we need that we're still paying off, we're about £1 billion in debt. There's no way you can say, oh no, that's good debt, we can use that. It's just stupid. But like for that, for example, is nothing to do with the football club. It's just to do with bad ownership.
Yeah.
Like,
But do you, as a fan of a club that's in that much debt and there's that much money floating around, because I get this feeling sometimes, and obviously I'm a Leeds fan, which is very different. Do you not feel a little bit disenfranchised from the club? And I don't know how to explain that, but just that it feels like no matter what you do and whatever the community around the club does, it doesn't really matter.
I get what you're saying a little bit. I don't know. I think with United, because it's been an issue for so long, the fans have just been able to, they've separated the club and the owners. So now it's Manchester United and the Glazers. It's not just like Man U and the Glazers. It's they're completely opposite, like they're different entities. So as fans, we've kind of just been like, do you know what? We love the club, we love the players, we love the manager, we love the stadium, this, that and the other, and we just fucking hate them. And as soon as you get rid of them, these parasites, this is just going to be perfect. I mean, if we'd have got the Qatari takeover this summer, then you kind of go, well, right, they're going to rebuild the stadium, they're going to redo the training ground, and I think that's the reason why United fans like myself wanted that takeover. It wasn't because I wanted a bottomless pit of money for transfers, because realistically speaking, the money that we bring in as a club almost gives us that every year anyway. We go out and spend 150, 200 million every summer anyway. So we don't need the Qatari takeover to go out and pay a load of money in transfers. We need it because these brothers have made it clear and obvious they are not going to spend a single penny of their own money on rebuilding the club. So just get rid of him, get somebody in that wants to do that.
Yeah.
So
it's tough to do though, isn't it? To find an owner that's willing to actually invest in that.
And that's the biggest frustration that United fans have over this summer, is that there was somebody there
and it didn't work.
He loves the club. He's a United fan. He wants to take over. He wants to come in and spend a load of money, wipe the debt, rebuild the stadium, redo the training ground, and almost make us like when whoever it was that took over City, like they did, Abu Dhabi did with City. They want to do that with United, but then they've just fucked it again.
The club's just suffocating at the moment.
It's dying. Unfortunately, Manchester United is dying, and it won't ever die because of the amount of money it makes as a club from shirt sales and ticket sales and this, that, and the other. But actually, if say for example, a mid-league, like say Wolves for example, were having the same issues that United were having, you could genuinely see Wolves being in serious trouble and looking at going into administration and because of the way that it's just so badly run. But because United brings in enough money, it just about
almost self-sustaining.
It keeps itself level.
Yeah. They can hide behind that, can't they?
And you know what? I completely agree with the point of when you compare it to the other top Premier League clubs, in not only just the footballing level, but the overall club dying a little bit. Like I've been to the Etihad a couple of times in the last few years, whether it's for football or for concerts. And I walked past Old Trafford a couple of weeks ago because I was in Manchester. And the difference, like around the stadium and with what Man City have done in terms of kind of bringing the community together a little bit. When I've been for games or when I've been for concerts, there's nice bars outside, nice food places. You know, the overall vibe is great. Round Old Trafford, Trafford, there's practically fuck all. Like, there's nothing going on. And I mean, Newcastle are looking at doing the same at the minute. They're going to spend millions and millions of pounds around the stadium building stuff. And Man City are doing even more to do that. And that's what I talk about when I say, like, being disenfranchised with a club. I think it's really important to still have a bit of that community feel and actually do stuff for the local people when you're a business that's making that much money in the city. But
I think especially when you're a business that relies so heavily on people loving your business. So it's not just like, I don't know, Coca-Cola, for example, where at the end of the day, it's just a beverage. And I know people have this mad love for Coca-Cola, but at the end of the day, it's just a product. Whereas when it's a football team, there's people that, you know, there's 3-4 generations of families that are like, I'm a Man United fan, my dad's a Man United fan, my granddad's a Man United fan. That's how it works like that. And it's the same with every football team around the globe. So when you rely so heavily on that aspect, you do need to kind of give back to the fans and be like, yeah, let's go out and spend fucking 600 million on getting a new roof and a load of seats for the stadium. You know, like Liverpool, like, you know, you had a shit season last season. So how did they cover that up? Well, let's go and build a new stand.
Yeah, I mean, for all, you know, no owner's perfect, but I suppose I'm on the side for our owners that they are doing a really good job. Like you say, they've rebuilt the new training facility. It's one of the best in the world now. The stadium's coming on amazing. So, you know, there was talk we were going to knock that down or move elsewhere in the city, but we've just redeveloped it, and we had to knock down loads of houses in the process. So that
would have cost a lot.
That's what I mean. So it was a big decision, but they made it happen. And I just would I want our club to be owned, like you say, by like a state or something like that, so we could compete with City? Part of me says yes, but then I think deep down I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that. Like, even at Leeds, if someone said to me like Qatar or something was going to come in and buy Leeds, it'd be great because we'd spend loads of money. But personally, I wouldn't enjoy it. Like in any way. It'd probably make me question like whether I'm going to carry on.
Would it make you stop going to the games or anything? Do you think?
Potentially, but that's the problem. Like, football's been such a big part of my life that I wouldn't want to do that.
Why?
Just because I don't agree with the values of that country, or particularly how a lot of those people have made their money. Like, especially when you look at some of the oil money that's come from Saudi, and you can trace it back to thousands of people dying. Like, it's pretty poor. Like, I'd love it if my team signed good players, but also it'd be really difficult for me, you know, because I love Leeds so much, right? And I obviously want to see Leeds do well and spend money, but I don't know if I could support it. I don't know if I could.
I get what you're saying. I suppose the state stuff like Saudi and Qatar, that it's kind of everybody kind of broadcasts how evil they are, but there isn't a billionaire in the world that hasn't fucked people over,
all knobheads,
that's caused issues, that's done damage to the globe. You know, you look at, say, for example, the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Their owner is Jerry Jones, who is loved by the Dallas Cowboys fans, but he's an oil guy. He's made money out of oil. So he's done, you know, irreversible damage to the planet. He's probably fucked a shitload of people over, cost people jobs. People have probably died working on his sites and this, that, and the other. But it's kind of ignored a little bit because he's American or because he's. But I think the States get like the Eastern Europeans get it a little bit worse because not Eastern European, sorry, the Middle Eastern owners and this, that get it worse because there's a little bit of an agenda. And I'm not saying that the agenda's wrong.
I know what you mean.
But I think that's a little bit against them.
Yeah, I think it's we're in a Western country. We're obviously going to have our values. They have theirs. Whatever. I get every point of view. It's just
it always seems like from their point of view, it's just like what's going on around the world of English football, right? We're gonna challenge that now. We're gonna plough that. And it just feels like it's an instant kind of thing, which you think, well, football's not like that. You like to think it's more organic, more you grow and you progress and stuff. But they've just decided no. Buy that club.
I get that side of it.
And I think we're uncomfortable with that as fans.
It's like a little bit like, oh, that's their new toy.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the only reason why I push back against it a little bit with the Qatar potential for United is because Sheikh Jassim is a United fan. So I kind of go, do you know what? It might be his new toy, but he does also love the club. He's
like, at least there's some passion there.
He's not just coming in because
loves football, not just looking at it as just a business opportunity.
Like he goes to Old Trafford a lot to watch games and that sort of stuff. So at least there's kind of like a little bit of backstory to it where you go, do you know what? Yes, he's a multi-billionaire. Yes, it's state ownership, but at least it's a fan at least it's somebody coming in.
A football fan.
That likes the game, that loves the game, and that sort of stuff. So, I don't know. I mean, I find it interesting. Like, I saw an interview with the Manchester mayor. He was doing an interview. I can't remember who it was with, but they were questioning him a lot on the Man City owners because they were very much against, these state ownerships and, how could you be? And this Manchester mayor was saying, look, what they do in their country is what they do in their country. But my main concern is Manchester, and actually what they've done for the community of Manchester and the city of Manchester is massive. They've not just come in and bought Man City, but they've also bought a shitload of land and property and businesses in Manchester and grown the surrounding, like you were saying, grown the surrounding areas and grown Manchester.
Around the Etihad is so nice in comparison to what it used to be like. Like it was for the Commonwealth Games when it originally it was built. So it's a relatively new stadium, but the whole area around it now is really good. Like when I've been there, I've been so impressed, especially in comparison to a lot of the football stadiums that I've visited, even around the world. It's one of the better ones, and I think they're going to continue to spend money. So I get that point of view. That's why it's a little bit tough for me though, because it's like, that's an obvious reaction. Oh, they spent loads of money in the city. The team's doing really well. The fans are happy. Everyone's happy. But at the same time, it is just sports washing.
It is a bit, but
I feel like Man City haven't been quite as bad for it.
And they're doing it with golf as well.
Yeah.
They're doing it with golf and boxing as well. So
and with their own football league, just spending like $1 billion in the transfer window.
It's obvious what they're doing.
It's like WWE.
Oh, and they've bought No.
Is that someone else?
Nah, UFC. There's some company that owns UFC bought it.
Saudi do have investments in WWE. They do.
Right, yeah. So
taking over everything.
That's why they've done a few of the stuff in Saudi.
Yeah, no, but so the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was meant to be buying WWE, but the company that owns UFC bid more, so they ended up buying it. But it does come back to, for me, like, obviously that's massive positives, and it's great that that's happening in the UK. But really, there's only one reason that all that's happening, and it's to create a positive image for the owners and for the people of that country.
That's what the World Cup was about, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally 100% that. And it's like, do we want that to be a part of the sport that we all love?
I think the problem with the World Cup is it was such a good World Cup.
Yeah, but that was because of the football pitches, like the football on the pitch.
I don't know. I think it was such a good. I mean, that was probably the best World Cup that I can remember in recent history.
Yeah, but I don't think that's because of where it was, though.
I don't know, but I don't think there was an awful lot of issues with where it was in that sense, because they obviously knew the questions that were being asked of the country as a whole. So they created like a little bubble.
It was like a false narrative, the whole thing.
Exactly that. So I'm not trying to shed any positive light on them as a whole. Because we know that values don't really align with ours.
Well, no, it's mad though, because like throughout the World Cup, for example, there was people going over there that were like gay journalists and stuff like that. Whereas most of the time, if you went over there and were openly gay, you'd literally get beaten to death. So it's like, where do you draw the line though? Again, that's just them changing their values for a month so that everyone looks at them in a positive light, and then just going back to how it was.
This kind of comes back to because there's similar sort of things that go on in Russia, but nobody said this about the Russian World Cup in 2018.
I mean,
there was a lot of questions going into that. To be fair, there was
but there wasn't this massive pushback on LGBTQ. There was players coming out saying that they wanted to wear rainbow armbands at the World Cup and this, that, and the other. Whereas you didn't hear a peep out of it in Russia for the Russian World Cup.
Yeah, but in Russia,
I've heard reports that if two blokes walk down, like I've seen videos on Facebook, for example, where two blokes, just as a social experiment, will walk down the street holding hands and they'll get literally abuse.
Oh yeah, no, that's true.
Threatened for violence and this, that, and the other. And you kind of and I disagree with it. I'm not.
I know.
But again, like there was this massive push on the Qatar World Cup, but you didn't hear a peep out of Russia, and they make a lot of their money out of oil and this, that, and the other in Russia as well. But there was nothing.
I think it's because in Russia it's not illegal to be gay. Like in Qatar and Saudi, you'll literally either go to jail or like get like physical punishments for being gay. Whereas in Russia, the people might not like it, but in the terms of the state, it's not like you're going to go to jail for it. So it's like, from the top down, it's not 100% against it. I mean, I'm sure it probably is in Russia as well. But do you know what I mean? It's that slight difference is actually quite large.
When it's so clear, there's a rule, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
It's just,
I think we're constantly progressing anyway, as well, in terms of saying questions being asked. Just in its entirety, people are getting a little bit more familiar with kind of that side of the world, let's say. And people are becoming more open. It's spoke about more, so maybe light gets shone on it more. As people, I'm lost for words now. I don't even know where I was going.
Yeah, it's hard. You know what? It's a really tough topic to talk about, to be honest, because you know, you can imagine that if you put this one on TikTok, the comments would be so split between people from those countries that agree with those values or whatever, and then people from England that are like, yeah, no, fuck that. And it's tough because I do also get the argument of, well, that's their country, let them do what they want. But my only point on the whole thing with football is, yeah, we'll let them do what they want, but then maybe not buying half the English football teams to make it look like it's a good idea. That's the end of that one. But Arsenal against City, right? What do you think of the first half?
Interesting first half. I think City looked the better team. They should be down to 10 men.
They're lucky
100%.
to have 11 men on the pitch. I can't believe that Kovacic is still on there. The initial one should have been a straight red, really, in my opinion, once it got reviewed. The second one, though, especially, that second challenge, if he's already on a yellow, how the hell has he not got a second yellow for that?
What's that mean? In my opinion, if VAR looked at either of those, he flew in late with studs up and caught someone's ankle. How both of those could have been a red individually, in my opinion. Never mind.
It just doesn't surprise me, to be honest, the way the shit show that VAR is. It just doesn't surprise me. We're all mad, we're all upset about it, but it just doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where you're just kind of waiting for the next.
You just
next
kind of
controversial
and that's
decision.
what's so sad, isn't it? Because it's just like you just want to enjoy the game.
That's what I mean. Big game. Arsenal City, the top two from last season. Looking forward to it, and you just know it's going to be clouded over by controversial decisions when you should really be focusing on the football that's getting played.
I've got an interesting question for you, and I was thinking yesterday about how much of a I suppose things could change drastically, but I doubt they'll change to this level. I had a massive stinker at the start of the season when I predicted Tottenham to finish outside the top 8, and I said that'd be the flop of the season. I mean, with Kane going, etc., you know, I thought that's how it ended.
Exactly, yeah.
But right now, they're sat top of the league, and I don't think anyone would have predicted that one. Do you think that Tottenham actually have a chance of winning the league? But also, who do you think, if not Manchester City, are the biggest contenders? Because we're a couple of games into the season now. I mean, you've got Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham all doing really well. Obviously, Chelsea and United haven't done much so far. But
it's only the start. And I'd say
I think
not winning the league, top 4, we didn't have them pinned for top 4.
Who do you think, then, is the most likely to challenge Manchester City for the title come the end of the season?
Probably Liverpool or Arsenal. I just think because they've had the experience in recent years, so they've got the know-how.
I still don't think they've got enough experience because they've not won it. Whereas Liverpool, the majority of that squad have won the league.
They know what it takes to go toe-to-toe with that City team.
And I know this City team is better than that City team when you won the league, but Liverpool have experience of winning the league or even making it as close as they have. Like Arsenal pushed them City last year, but City still won by 8 points.
Comfortable in the end.
So they still ended up, almost 3 wins above Arsenal, whereas, Liverpool have pushed them harder and they've been able to kind of, So I'd say Liverpool.
They know what it takes, don't they? I mean, that comes with it. And that with Arsenal, nobody really expected them at the start of last season to be in the position they were in when they were in it. But then it comes down to obviously past experience and maturity within the squad when it comes to the game when they played Man City and they lost. I mean, nobody really expected them to win it, to be completely honest with you. But then
that changed the whole narrative.
Different results like that draw at West Ham, just little moments like that I think like a Liverpool team don't slip up at.
Yeah, I agree. I think, do you know, my only worry about... I know that this is maybe a strange statement. I think if it was next season and it had started like this, I'd give Liverpool a much better chance. But I think because of the transition in how many players left and then the few new ones that have come in, obviously you've got McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch. I think if they had another season to have learnt the systems a little bit more, etc., then I think it'd be a real challenge.
I mean, we still need a DM. We still need a number 6 because McAllister, he's playing there and he's done all right, but he kind of made the mistake for one of the Brighton goals today. I feel sorry for him because he's done all right, but obviously it's not his position, and I just feel sorry for him. He just wants to play as a number 8.
Yeah.
So we do need to get a DM in.
To be honest, I thought that was more on Alisson that.
The pass, But I just think
the pass and the save afterwards.
I just think overall McAllister, he's not, because he's like I say, he's just playing in a different position that he's not used to. So, and I think people at that opposition are targeting him as well because they know we've not.
They know that it's a fresh position.
So I think if we get a proper DM in January, I think, and we're still in and around about, I think we can make a push. But right now, I think we can challenge, but I don't think we will win the league. No.
Yeah, to be honest, I think everyone at this point expects City to win it, but it's that close at the minute. I think it'd only take for like Arsenal to win today or Liverpool to win when they play them for the tables to switch very quickly.
I think City lost last week as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
So they lost 2 on the bounce. You never know.
The key is you just need, if you're chasing City, you just need to stay in touch until you play them, and then when you play them, you need to win. So Arsenal, if they want to win the league, they need to win this game.
I think that that you got to win that
at the
game
Emirates
at
as
home.
well.
Yeah.
You've got that's the thing is like, I think this has probably fallen unfortunate for them. I think if you'd asked them, they'd probably rather play City away now, early doors. So later in the season, when maybe it's a little closer, you can play them at home.
Yeah, because the Emirates has been a good place for Arsenal in the last couple of seasons, hasn't it? Arsenal just had a pretty decent cross into the box to start the second half.
Martinelli's come on.
Who did Martinelli come on for?
Trossard.
I didn't realise it were on the bench. Is he carrying a knock?
I didn't realise he wasn't playing, to be honest.
Is he carrying a knock or something?
I can't believe it's taking Trossard off and left fucking Eddie and Ketty around.
There was another thing a moment ago where Raya was very close to having the ball intercepted.
Second time today.
It's happened a few times now.
Yeah, Arsenal have started quite brightly since to come out.
Yeah, you'd expect so. Really, a lot of it was City in the first half, so Arsenal need to try put a foot down in this game a little bit more.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's early second half. Once City just get hold of the ball, though. That's just it. Yeah. Big Phil.
Confusing, not why that wasn't handball, to be honest.
No, it was a bit weird.
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't get given at all.
That's another prime example of just dodgy officiating. It's like you said earlier, it goes back to that, like they've become more slack in their initial officiating because they know that they've got...
Oh, he's fucked that up.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to chat about, obviously we mentioned the fact that Saka got played midweek in the Champions League, despite everyone knowing they had an injury, and it was pretty pointless for him to do so. But when you talk about a lot of the teams that have maybe been underperforming in the Premier League this year, especially United and Chelsea, one of the main concerns is, and one of the main things that's brought up is the amount of injuries in those squads, which is true. There's massive injuries. When you see United starting with Maguire at centre-back, and to be honest, the whole back line is pretty poor at the minute. Chelsea are missing loads of players. Yeah, Johnny Evans. What do we think on... First off, let's go into the first point. Why do we think so many players are getting injured? Because there's something like 40 players that are out through injury at the minute.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard. Isn't it? You could say, there's too many games, and there probably is too many games. But then you look at the life of a footballer. He's wrapped up in cotton wool, isn't he, with regards to travel and treatment and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of counter that. But I don't know. It's just like when we had our injury crisis, like last year. That's because we had all our doctors or with the main medical team left or something like that. So maybe it could be something like that going on behind the scenes at the clubs. I don't know. I don't know if it's like that at Man United or Chelsea. Just little things. If there's one person that leaves and you don't replace, or it's a new person, it can have an effect on the treatment and things like that. So maybe that has an effect. I don't know.
I heard recently United have only just hired a head of sports medicine.
Yeah. Well, that's
like
what I mean.
They didn't have one at all?
Didn't have one. They've only just hired one because of... I mean, I think this season...
Arsenal with the ball in the box.
I think this season and last season, I think it'll be a lot higher because of the World Cup. So, like they were they obviously were going to play football in that period anyway. But by playing international football, it then pushed the league later, which meant they had shorter summers. And then I think the other issue at United is, why the fuck did we have so many preseason games? We had a ridiculous amount of preseason games. Well, I know why. It's because the Glazers wanted to make a shitload of money.
And get that international marketing and fan base in there.
And then that's why...
Arsenal in the box with Martinelli. Takes a shot straight at the keeper.
Very brightly.
Arsenal have had a fantastic start to this second half. But yeah, the amount of games is definitely true. And as you said, I think pre-season is more for the marketing side of things, isn't it? So you can try capture it.
It's getting that way. Pre-season's a great idea. It gets people fit and stuff like that. But it's like, for example, Kobe Mainoo at United. He looked really bright in pre-season, academy player, was really excited to see him this season kind of come in. And he was kind of going to play that Scott McTominay role where he was going to be on the bench, but he was going to get some minutes every now and again just to give Casemiro a bit of a rest, because he had that versatility where he could play 6, but he could also play 8. But then he gets injured in pre-season against Real Madrid really early doors, and I think he's only just got back into training. Like, he's still not fit for the league or anything like that, so it's kind of like really disappointing. But it's because we're playing... when we played pre-season, I think we played a game every 3 days. It's just nuts.
It's completely uncalled for.
Don't get much of a break.
Well, I know Klopp's talked about a lot about the amount of games, and obviously you said there that maybe you don't think it's as big of an issue.
I don't know. I just think because the way football is with all the money behind it and how they protect players, I think
they should be able to.
I'm not saying they should be able to cope with it, because they are human after all and the pressures and stuff. But I think the 5 substitution rule has helped a lot. I think that's helped.
Yeah, I disagreed with that at first, but actually no.
No, it's I think it was Klopp who was pushing for it, and he got absolute pelters for it. But
it does
work.
I think the only pushback on that is obviously it does benefit the top 6 sides.
It does.
Bigger squads and more money to spend.
Bigger squads, and you're playing more games. So like Liverpool, City, you'd expect them to play 50+ games in the season. So it's going to benefit them, whereas
it removes the benefit for a team that's lower down the league.
Like Luton, for example, they're not going to really feel the benefits of it because they're only playing 38 league games and maybe 5 cup games if they get a win or 2 to get through a few rounds. And
for them, they would have probably normally been looking at a fixture against United or something, hoping that they had a Champions League game midweek, and then they went to play them. Might be a little bit more tired, but as you said, that definitely changes things. But on that point then, Josh, do you think that the injuries at Manchester United are a good excuse for the start to the season so far?
I think it's an excuse. I don't know if I'd say it's a good excuse. I think it's a valuable excuse. I mean, like we just said, you look at that back 4 for United last night. Yesterday we had Victor Lindelof playing left back. Your starting centre back partnership was Maguire and Johnny Evans.
That was mental, like 2023.
And then you had Diogo Dalot playing right back, who, to be honest with you, I think is suspect anyway. And you kind of go, well, fucking hell. I mean, we had 2 left backs injured at the start of the season in Luke Shaw and Tyrell Malacia. So then we bring in Sergio Reguilon to cover for that injury, and then he gets injured. So you kind of go, well, do you know what? That's a bit of a fair enough excuse. Victor Lindelof hasn't played left back, I don't think, for United ever. And then, he's going.
What are the injuries? Is it like muscle strains or what is it?
I think it is muscle.
So that's like training stuff, isn't it? And
yeah. So I think it is an excuse, but at the same time, it's not a good enough excuse. Like,
you're a big enough team that you should be able to cope
enough quality. Like we've still got enough quality on the pitch where we, at home against Brentford, we shouldn't need 2 very late goals from a substitute, Scott McTominay, to win the game. We should have had the game put to bed and finished by then. So I don't know. Like I said, it's an excuse. Wouldn't say it's a good one.
Right.
It's definitely a factor.
Yeah.
Definitely a factor.
It does come into it. You kind of go, oh, well, if Shaw was playing, would we have conceded that goal? And if we had everyone, if we had had Højlund at the start of the season, would him and Rashford have meshed by now and be able to play fully together?
He looks a decent player, to be fair.
What do you think of the signings at Manchester United so far? Obviously, Højlund's pretty fresh into it. There's been a lot of talk about Onana in the last week. I think he's probably one of the most talked about footballers in the Premier League. What's your thoughts on him so far, Josh?
I mean, he was always going to be, because he was coming into the biggest club in the Premier League, and he was taking the place of a club legend who's been there for 12 years. So it was always going to be a very talked about transfer and stuff like that. But fuck me, this guy needs to pull his head out of his arse. I don't know what he's doing. I didn't see him as a unbelievable shot stopper. He was never David De Gea's shot stopping ability. But he came in with decent levels of goalkeeping ability, and it was his ability to play out from the back.
That's why he got signed, didn't it? His passing ability.
His ability to play out from the back.
De Gea didn't have that distribution, did he?
At all. And to be fair, Onana's ability to kind of come out and claim crosses is much better than... Oh, he's done well.
Oh, what's he put it back for?
Is much better than De Gea's.
Yeah, I think my thing with Onana is it doesn't even seem like his passing ability's been up to scratch so far. The one thing you signed him for, obviously, you saw that.
When I've seen him, he's looked all right.
He's okay.
With the diagonals,
but then the problem is then he does what he did against
where he just gives the ball away.
Just pass the ball away and you think. But at the same time, you kind of have to look at it and go, well, the fucking back 4 in front of him is Lindelof, Maguire and Johnny Evans. You kind of got to come a little bit of slack. I mean, he should have saved that goal yesterday, should have. He got a hand to it. It wasn't a powerful shot.
But this is every single game, it seems like there's a howler from him at the minute.
Yeah.
And it didn't... for me, when you look at Manchester United, didn't De Gea have something like 15 clean sheets last season?
He won
the Golden Glove. But then, look at the defence in front of him. He had Wan-Bissaka.
I know, but...
For the majority of the season, he had Wan-Bissaka, he had Varane, Martinez and Luke Shaw in front of him. So that helps. And De Gea is a better shot stopper than...
But this is what I'm saying. So why would you get rid of someone that you know is quite a good quality keeper and sign someone for 50, what was it, 55 million, something along those
I
lines?
think it was
You
40 odd
keep
million
saying,
quid.
look at the defence in front of him as well, which is fine. We're not talking about the amount of goals that he's conceded. We're talking about the manner in which he's conceded them.
I'm not arguing. He has started incredibly poorly, and I think he needs to, like I said, he needs to pull his head out of his ass. And
Is
sort
he? How
himself
old
out.
is he? Is he mid-20s? What is he?
I think he's like 28.
He's
in
a
his-
bit old. The reason we got rid of him is because it comes down to style. We needed a goalkeeper that allowed us to play out from the back. I mean, like if you watch the FA Cup final last season, for example, United City, fucking De Gea didn't complete a long ball. I watched the whole game. He kicked the ball long. He didn't get it to another United player until about the 60th or 70th minute.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Where you go, fuck me, what are you playing at?
It's a lot of wasted possession.
But then the question is, what do you want from your keeper? Like, admittedly, that's wasted possession, but that's also probably partially due to players up the pitch not winning the ball,
But
not really
the thing
challenging
is, with
for it.
Onana, we have seen he is a good keeper. He's going through a little something at the moment, but he is a good keeper, and he has been over the past couple of
thing is
seasons.
though-
But yeah, he was in the Champions League final last year, wasn't he?
He'll
But-
click at some point.
I
He'll
think-
settle. He'll
'cause
settle in.
Was he from Inter Milan?
Inter
'Cause
Milan, yeah.
Keepers that come from Italy to the Premier League don't generally do very well because there's not enough pressure on them there. You know, it's more physical, the Premier League, so I don't think they're used to that. So I think that plays on their mind as well.
But I think you look at City, for example, Edison's distribution is unbelievable. He's probably the best keeper in the world for distribution. But actually, as a shot stopper, he's not amazing.
That's why Alisson's Brazil's
Yeah.
number one.
Saying that Alisson made the mistake today for the. One of
So
the
I think-
goals
I
I mean, it's going to
themselves.
happen at some point.
I
isn't
think,
it,
I mean,
for a
all
keeper?
keepers make howlers, whether
Yeah.
it's, anybody. But I think, that is the way that goalkeepers go in, that they're not all the very best shot stoppers. It's more about that ability to play out from the back and that ability to be able to ping a pass. I mean, what Edison gets one or two assists every season because of his ability to play that long ball. And so, but like I said, his shot stopping isn't incredible. It isn't good enough to he does get the occasional best in the world shout, or he did for a little bit.
No, not so much. Yeah.
Everyone's kind of come to the agreement, yeah, it is Alisson. He is the best in the league and probably the best in the world. But, that got him shots for a little bit, but his shot stopping was never elite. Like David De Gea, his shot stopping in his prime was absolutely elite. He was the best in the world at shot stopping, but he's never been great with his
It's a
feet.
bit like Pickford. Pickford's good at shot stopping, but he's not a very good goalkeeper overall.
So the final point on this then, do you think it's an upgrade? Do you think it was a smart transfer?
I think
The losing De Gea, admittedly De Gea was on a lot of money, but Onana is now as well. Losing De Gea and replacing him with Onana, is that a good move?
Yeah, I think it is. I think and it's hard to kind of back it up because he's not proved me right with the howlers that he's having. But I think it allows us to play the style of football that Ten Hag wants to play.
Needed to be done. You needed to make the change.
I think, yeah, like you said, it needed to happen. We needed to make that step forward where we go, the changing of the guard, where the old guard's gone, where David De Gea. Now, I completely disagree with the way that it was handled. The way that De Gea was kind of just pushed out the back door and just said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you another contract," and then right on. When it came to signing, they say, actually, no, we don't want to give you that. I completely disagree with the way that was handled. But, I mean, again, I hark back to the FA Cup final. That second Gundogan goal, De Gea should have saved it. No. He should have done better with that. So you kind of go, well, and last season, De Gea had a couple howlers. I think it was
There was one or two that I remember,
game.
yeah.
The Brentford game, I think it was their first goal where it just went under him. So, as much as I love De Gea and he's a club legend, it was getting to the point where there was more and more howlers creeping into his game, and he wasn't able to distribute. He didn't come out and claim crosses. Like when we played Arsenal at the Emirates, and I think Nketiah scored his second goal, he should have come out and claimed that cross. Nketiah should have
command your area as a goalkeeper.
Nketiah never should have had the opportunity to make that header because De Gea should have come out, claimed the cross, and then that's it. You're never in a situation where you're blaming the defenders for losing them. Losing their player. So I think it was a smart decision. He just needs to kind of find his confidence again.
Do you know what my main worry is? And I think this is where this is going to go. You've invested a lot in these Ten Hag players. Obviously, Anthony, Martinez, Onana, a lot of these to play the system he wants to play. And I think it's going to end badly. I think he's not going to do that well. He's going to leave. And then it's going to be like you're stuck with all your big investments of players to play under his style that might not work so well under a different manager.
But then you kind of,
I know.
The problem is then, if you make that argument, because we're not playing so well at the moment, you can't win. Because we've had previous United managers in the past that have not been able to sign the players that they want to fit their system because they have to sign players that are a big name and that are, some of the best players in the world. You look at an Angel Di Maria or a Memphis Depay, and then everyone slews the manager and slates the manager. Why aren't you buying players that suit the system? Why aren't you buying you buy Paul Pogba, but then don't put anything around him for the system?
Arsenal in the box here. Jesus.
Should have fizzed that across the box.
And everyone blames the manager for that because it's poor transfers because you're just buying big names. But then Ten Hag's coming in and he's buying players to suit his system. And now because it's not quite working, you go, well, why is he buying those players? I also think the other issue is, and it's a little bit of a lack of investment Glazer's issue again, is that the funds aren't there for him to buy the players that he actually wants. So he's now
in the second option.
He's now in a situation where he can't go out and buy, the best right winger available. So he's like, right, well, I'll go out and buy a right winger that I know that can play my system. So that's when you get an Anthony, or I can't go out and buy the DM that I want or the second midfield option that I want. So I'm gonna have to go out and buy an Amrabat who's played for me before, who I know. So
familiar with him, yeah.
Or I can't go out and get the centre back that I want, so I'm gonna have to go and get Martinez, who's played for me. So I think that's another issue as well, where you're kind of stuck in a situation where he's not got the investment from the owners. They're not giving him the backing to go out and get the players that he really wants. I mean, you look at like that interview that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did a while back, where he wanted Rice when Rice would have been a lot cheaper. He wanted Caicedo when Caicedo was in Ecuador, and he wanted Haaland before Haaland.
Well, yeah, but you always get this with managers. That always the amount of times you see.
Klopp, it happened like Salah and Mane. They weren't Klopp's first choice. They wanted like Brandit and Marco Reus, I think, like that from Germany. They couldn't get them, so then they got Salah and Mane. And
that's kind of the opposite then, because he wanted players that he knew suited his system, but he ended up with different players. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, like I don't know about the other ones, but I really, really do believe in that Haaland one, because obviously Solskjaer himself is a Norwegian striker, and there was really serious heavy links for him to come to United.
Do you think it was because of with his dad, he didn't want him to play for Man United? Do you think that was something to do with it? What happened with him and Roy Keane?
It could have been, but I don't think so. I think that would have been seriously petty to do that, because Roy Keane's got nothing. If Roy Keane was the manager, maybe I'd have understood it, or Roy Keane was still involved in the club. But Roy Keane's got fuck all to do with the club now, really, other than the fact that he's a club legend. But I think what it came down to is in what Solskjaer said in that interview was that when he went to the board to sign these players, he was told, no, with Manchester United, we need to sign ready-made players now. We can't sign potentials.
Yeah.
And you kind of go, are you fucked in your head? Like, what the fuck is that?
Well, there's actually one point Leeds were in for Haaland, and they said 4 million was too much, so we didn't sign him. I'm not even kidding. That has come out. Yeah, it's crazy. And he's a Leeds fan, so that is a signing that probably would have. It would have probably come through. But on the Man United topic, right? Do you know? And maybe this is a little bit of a controversial one. I just don't know what Ten Hag has done at United to give the fans at United the belief that he's God's gift. I really don't understand.
I don't think any of them think like that, to be honest.
No, but they do, because they still unreservedly back him no matter what.
Well,
you could lose 3 games in a row against the worst teams in the league, and it'd be like, oh, well, no, he's got it. We need to just get these players back, get in his system. I don't understand it.
I think you do have to back him, because you can't, otherwise you're just going to be around in circles again and again. But I think from a Liverpool point of view, because 8 years ago today, Klopp took his first game where he signed as manager, and in the first, I'd say probably 2 seasons, or his first 2 full seasons, we weren't the best, but you could see what he was trying to do, this heavy metal football, and you can see it, even though we were losing like 4-3 or 2-0 or whatever, you could still see what he was trying to do. But with Ten Hag, I still don't know what he's trying to do.
No, I don't get it.
What is the blue? What's his style of football? Because I can't see it. I can't see it.
Josh?
Unless, I mean, obviously I don't watch them as much as obviously United fans.
He wants to play like kind of counter-attacking style football, where transitional football, that's what he wants to do. And I remember in pre-season he said in one of his interviews he wants to become the best transitional team in world football. That's what he wants to do. He wants to become transition, where it goes from defence to attack as quick as possible, which is why he's brought in somebody like Onana, who has the ability to ping a 60-yard pass and pick him out. So that's what he wants to do.
Is that happening? Is it happening?
it was somewhat happening in pre-season, but again, I think the injuries have caused issues with it.
Do you know the only reason though, and I've looked at the stats as well. The only reason I think that this was happening last season in comparison to this season is Rashford. Rashford was on absolute fire at points in last season. And Rashford, he goes through these periods, he'll have a really good 15, 20 games, and then he'll drop off for 15, 20 games. And that's just how he's been as a player throughout his career. But in those games, that's when United really needed him, and he was doing absolute bits. Now they haven't got an attacker that's on that type of form or anywhere near that type of form. So they're just not getting the goals at all. And I don't think that they were getting the goals because of the system or because of Ten Hag. I think they were getting them because they've got a really good player there who was on top form.
But I think that also comes back to the coach. The coach, I think Ten Hag got into Rashford and said, because if you look back the season before last, Rashford was probably Rashford's worst season since he made his debut for Man United. And I think that, the coach took him in and said, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make you the focal point. I mean, I don't know. I still back Rashford, even though he's going through a little bit of a
but Rashford, as you said, I feel like I've seen this with him loads. He'll do really well for a couple of months, and then it'll drop off a little bit. That is how I see him.
Again, he's now in a situation like I was talking to somebody else about this. Can't remember who I was talking about, but he was, he's now having to change the way that he plays. So last season, he was a left winger by trade, but he was almost like a Mo Salah off the left, where Mo Salah's a winger, but he's that inverted forward really, where he's always trying to cut in. Rashford was doing that a lot, but now that you've got Haaland in there, not Haaland, sorry, Højlund, bloody hell, I wish. You've got Højlund in there, who's your out and out number 9. He wants the ball, and he wants you to fuck off, get out of his way type thing, give him his space. And Ten Hag wants to spread the pitch. The reason we brought Anthony in is because he hugs the touchline. Like if you watch United play when Anthony's on, he's always on the touchline. And that's the way that he wants the wingers to play, which is then different for Rashford. So he's going to have to now change his style of play compared to last season, where you had fucking Wout Weghorst, who was just a donkey. Like, he didn't care where you were. He was just there to press, really.
Played for the badge.
So, it was just like one of those, really. So, I don't know.
I like Ten Hag. I think he's a good manager. I think he needs time. I think you can't.
You say what has he done? He ended the trophy drought for United, and he put us in the top 4 last season, which really.
Yeah, but do you not think that should have happened after the players he brought in?
No,
and given Rashford's form,
nothing's a guarantee.
Yeah,
I guess.
Okay, after the season, but going into the season, if you'd have asked me, I sure I had this conversation in the group chat when we hired him. The lads were like, right, what do you think? What's your expectation this season of Ten Hag? I was said, push for top 4. Just push, not get top 4, but push for top 4. And it did help that Liverpool and Chelsea had poor seasons last season. It helped us and Newcastle. But at the end of the day, he won a trophy. He got us in an FA Cup final, which, if De Gea makes that save,
different game.
It's different. You can have a conversation about it. City probably still would have won, but he got us into that cup final. We had a decent run in the Europa League. We should have done better, don't get me wrong, but we had a decent run. And then, he got us in the top 4. And at one point, we were, floating. I mean, it was very early on. It was like probably January. So we would have dropped off eventually anyway. But we were floating around that title race at one point. We were only a couple of points off Arsenal and City.
It was January, wasn't it? Yeah, I do remember.
So you kind of go, well, that's what he's done. He's shown that when he has a fully fit squad, he can make United.
But that was my point on Rashford. I feel like I know you've got injuries now, but his goals are the main difference.
Yeah, ultimately that's what it does come down to, is that we don't have the talisman.
There's no one banging him in at the minute. As you said yesterday, it came down to 2 late McTominay goals, which is mental, people, yeah.
It is, but I don't know.
I just think it's time. I think it's small steps. I think for Man United this season, it's probably their aim was probably top 4, maybe a decent title challenge kind of thing, because Man United are not going to win the league. They're not going to win the Champions League. It's just it's small steps.
You're lucky to get out of that Champions League group.
Yeah. Ultimately,
it's got to be time. I know football fans are so impatient nowadays, and it's all now. But you have to give them
Do you
time.
know what it is? Ultimately, I think last season he overachieved. So now there was a lot of expectation this season for United.
If this was happening last season, it might not be.
Well, it's teething, or he'd had a similar sort of season where we didn't win a trophy, we didn't get to a cup final.
But he has had that time now.
Has he? He's had a season. He's had a season
or second
at United.
Second
He's had one season and 8 games. how's he had time?
Well, a full season to get your system in and get your style in is a fair amount. You would expect.
I don't know.
I think you need more. I think you need
with
a few
the
transfer
absolute
windows.
shambles of the club that he came into.
I don't know. I just feel like he's been given more resources as a manager than most other managers are, even when they come into a club with a lot of money. The amount of players that he's signed that are completely under his system and are ex-players that everyone expected to come in and kill the world. That let's be honest, Anthony's been a huge flop so far. Onana's too fresh, I know, but so far he's not looked very good. Martinez seems pretty injury prone. I mean, he's okay when he plays, but at the same time, is he a world-beating centre-back? Do you think?
I don't think he's all that. You man could big him up.
No, like, that's what I'm saying. He's all right. He's better than Maguire and Evans, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's not like, he won't get in this City team. He won't get in this Arsenal team. He won't get in Liverpool. Like, he's all right, but he's not amazing. Actually, he's signed a lot of these players, spent probably like 250 mil on players around his system,
Mason
and all
Mount
of them.
well.
Yeah, well, Mason Mount, I wouldn't judge him yet, but I think everyone
I
knows
think
that was an inflated price tag.
It's a strange signing, I think.
I don't think it was. I think it made perfect sense. It was a perfect signing. He was.
No, this is what I mean. You United fans, I swear to God, no matter what it is, you'll be like, nah, this is the right thing. This is the right. But it makes no sense. This is what I'm saying. He spent like 300 mil or something, and none of it is working.
So last season, he was given flowers for that Eriksen signing. We brought Eriksen in for free. And yeah, he got injured. And then once he came back, he wasn't quite as good. But start of the season, everyone was like, do you know what? Christian Eriksen for United, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but that did make sense anyway, because didn't you get him on a free when he previously played in the
Mason
Premier
Mount
League?
is now a better, younger Christian Eriksen.
Is he?
Yes.
He's not on that level. He's nowhere near.
Eriksen, especially when he was at Tottenham, is better than Mount.
That's why I said now.
Yeah,
Mason Mount is now a better, younger Christian Eriksen.
Where Eriksen is at this
Where
moment in
Eriksen is
time.
in his career, because we don't have Tottenham Eriksen.
Yeah, true. But I'm saying as a signing Eriksen as kind of like, we need someone in this position for the season and getting him on a free makes sense. Whereas signing Mount for that amount of money after the season he'd had at Chelsea didn't make much sense. The only reason that Chelsea even sold him, and probably sold him for as little as they did from their point of view, is because it was for the financials, because he came through the academy.
Books, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So the price was always going to be high because it's interleague. So whenever you sign a player from within the league, English tax, like you said, the price was always going to be high. But as a player, it made sense to sign him because he had better defensive stats than Eriksen did.
We were heavily linked with him, and a lot of fans wanted him as well. So he is a good player. He is a good player.
I don't hate Mount. I just think it's another example of not a great signing, and I think he's one of the ones that probably will come good in the long run, to be honest. But I don't know. I really don't see the hype at all. Arsenal on the attack here. There's been so many awful shots from the edge of the box this game. That must be the 5th time someone's just pinged it over the bar.
Yeah.
Tell you what, my prediction of 3-0, fucking hell, couldn't be further off. I was expecting
I thought there'd be goals. I thought there'd be loads of goals in this. But
I said 1-1. I suppose that's probably the closest in the end.
Yeah.
But moving on from Manchester United and Ten Hag, I wanted to talk a little bit about Pep Guardiola, because he's been at Manchester City for a number of years now. Last season, it kind of felt like he closed the book a little bit. He obviously won the treble, won the Champions League that all the fans had been waiting for. So it wouldn't surprise me if this is his last season. Obviously, you never know what's going to happen. But what do you lot think is next for Pep Guardiola after he does leave Manchester City?
I think he has to go international.
England.
I think
he's not done Italy yet, has he? I know he did. He was with Roma, wasn't he, when he first started out, but that didn't work out.
I don't think. I think he's done enough at the club level now. I think Pep Guardiola is on that GOAT arc where he's now in the conversation with the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson. And I think in order to put him over the edge of Sir Alex, he has to do it on the international level now, where you can say,
something different.
He won everything at Barcelona, but that Barcelona squad that he had was fucking unreal. He had Leo Messi. He went to Bayern. Unfortunately, he didn't quite win the Champions League there, but he kept being Bayern. And now he's come to City, and he's made City the best team in the world. Yes, they were good when he came, but they weren't this good.
No.
He's now made them.
He's implemented his style so well.
He's made City.
Yeah.
And now he's done he's not just won City a Champions League, like you said, he's done it in the treble. He got 100 points in the season. So he's done everything at club level. I think if he went to Italy or something like that, it'd just be rinse and repeat, where he'd end up at Juventus and he'd end up doing the treble with Juventus or winning everything. I think and nobody would really care. I think now he has to go.
We've seen it all before, basically.
I think he now has to go international.
It's a new challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, I know a new club's a new challenge.
Because all the GOAT managers that are in that conversation now, your Sir Alex, your Mourinho, even your Ancelotti, they've all just been club managers. None of them have done it on the international level.
Well, Ferguson, he managed Scotland, didn't he? The '86 World Cup, didn't he?
But I mean, he didn't win anything at the international level. Yeah. Whereas, you know,
I didn't know that.
Say, for example, Pep goes to that England team and then he wins the next World Cup with England. I don't think there's an argument that can be made. I think everyone then has to say,
I think
Pep Guardiola is the GOAT.
I agree with that, because I think at club level, at club level, because he has won everything and he's done everything, he's had all the tools available for him in terms of, like you say, Leo Messi and all the money. If he went to an international thing, he's only got a certain amount he can work with. So so I think, personally, I would like to see him do that, see if he can do it.
Great,
yeah.
Different challenge.
It makes it a completely different thing altogether, doesn't it? It's a completely different challenge.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, we're all going to say England. England's a number one choice for us. But if he wasn't to manage to England, is there any other team that you'd quite like to see him have a go with?
Spain. I don't think I'd like to see it but Spain. I think that's the only. I think it would be his smartest choice would probably be England because of the level of talent and the youth in the team.
He's worked with a few of them.
And so I think that would be the smart business decision, would be to go for England. But I was having this conversation over, text with Ethan the other day, and you kind of go, if your country comes calling, it's hard to say no. And I don't know, it's tough, because my argument was, if it was Klopp in that position, he'd choose Germany 100%, because I see Klopp as a lot more emotional, whereas Pep seems a lot more business. So I feel like
it's a job.
And the thing is, I was saying to Ethan, is that because he's not Mourinho, he's not Ancelotti, where he's pushing on in age now, he could take the England job for the next 6 years, win a couple of trophies, and then go and do it with Spain.
Yeah. And
he's still not old. Whereas, I don't know, it's a tough one. So I think if it wasn't England, it would be Spain.
Yeah.
I just hope he doesn't go managing America or Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
If he did that, it'd be
that
awful.
would be boring for a manager this good. And as you said,
but I don't think he would, because he's too young and he's on that GOAT arc, where if he did that, it kills the conversation. Then nobody will ever call him the GOAT.
Well, no, I think people still would.
Well, no, but I think ultimately people would say, well, no, it's Fergie, because he managed at the top flight his entire career and he went off by, on top, or it's Ancelotti because he managed a load of top teams in Europe, or it's Mourinho because he's done it all in Europe. He didn't finish off, in Saudi or whatever it is. Or even if Mourinho does go to Saudi now, he's earned that right. And I'm not saying Pep hasn't, but Mourinho's
he's old
10, 15 years is elder, whereas Pep's still very young and very much in his prime for managing.
I think if he does leave City, I think he will take a break, because he usually takes these sabbaticals, doesn't he, for like a year or something. So he'll probably do that, maybe work in the media, and then just assess his options, I reckon. I think that's probably what will happen.
Come to England and get us ready for World Cup.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum, obviously Manchester City, we were speaking about them earlier, they've been incredible for years, but a lot of that is down to Pep. They spent a lot of money previous to this and never quite hit the levels that they've been hitting
they
now.
were winning a lot before Pep came.
Yeah, they were still winning a lot, but in terms of European success, obviously a Champions League final and winning the Champions League, they've done incredible in the last few years. What do you think happens to Manchester City post Pep? Do you think it has a big impact on them?
It depends who they get, isn't it?
I think there will be a drop off. I think you'll see a similar sort of thing that happened to United.
I don't think it'll be as drastic.
No, it won't be as drastic. But I think because
of the quality of the team. That's all.
And
that's
the money.
I think when Pep does decide to go, the quality of team is going to be a lot better than the quality of team that United had when Fergie decided to go. But I think there will be that drop off where they're going to struggle to because when you have an all-time great coach or an all-time great player, how do you replace that?
You cannot replace it.
It's you can't really kind of just find somebody. And United handled it poorly, bringing in Moyes. I mean, Moyes is doing a great job at West Ham, don't get me wrong, but he was not the right hire for United.
It's too big for him, wasn't it? It's too
so, I know part of me thought that was just a business decision where United just brought somebody in that they could have in for 8 months. Could be that somebody that so that whoever they brought in next wasn't the next manager after Fergie. It was they had a buffer.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
They had a buffer where they never. I think they gave him that 5-year contract with no intentions of honouring that. So I think that was the issue. But I think there will be a fall off from City because, like we say, his system and a lot of these players that are at City are bought because they suit Pep's system.
Yeah.
So I think they bring somebody else in, and a lot of these players might not be quite as effective because they're not going to suit the next manager's system. But
who would they bring in? Like, who's out there?
Well, that's the other thing.
Like Zidane, maybe.
Well, no, but the
the
thing is with City as well, though, they probably have the ability to lure pretty much any manager,
But
even
who
if
though?
they're
That's
currently
like
at a club.
Who? I'm just trying to think who. Like,
I mean,
Ancelotti, would he come? I don't know. Like,
I don't know. I think he's just taken the Brazil
Yeah.
job, hasn't he?
is he?
But that's what I don't know whether he's taken it, but that's what I've heard is that he's linked to the Brazil job. Obviously, one of the options would have been Nagelsmann, but he's just taken the Germany job for the next 10 months. So you could say, well, after that, would he maybe go to City? But
Southgate.
Yeah. Let's do a swap. Let's do a swap. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down for that
Brighton's
one.
Manager.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Deserbi,
Brighton's. Yeah.
But then again, it goes back to like I'm sure Potter is a good manager, but then you take him away from it, and Brighton is still doing good. I just think that they've got the underlying factors that are going on at Brighton.
Yeah, the
is that
structure
good.
of the club at Brighton is
that good that I just feel like whoever comes in, they're going to do all right. But not taken away from him as a manager, he must be doing something right.
Also, to be fair, I think there will, like I've just said, there will be job, but I think City are in that situation as well, where this club is so well run.
Yeah,
kind of. It does matter, but it also doesn't.
Just send
like
them out to pitch, mate.
Like when Pep goes,
right.
the next manager isn't going to win the treble, but they're still going to be fighting for trophies.
Yeah.
They're still going to be fighting for the league because the team's just that good.
Do you think it has a bit of an impact as well, though? Obviously, we've seen it a few times in the last couple of seasons where there's been a player that's kind of been flirting with the idea of leaving City. Who was it this year? Bernardo Silva, where he was pretty. It looked like he was going to go at one point, and then he ended up staying. And I think that a lot of that comes down to Pep. And a lot of the players that they've been able to sign comes down to Pep. So when he goes, is that going to have a big impact on who they're actually able to? Because every summer they just keep getting the best. And they keep the players, barely anyone, unless they want them to go, is going.
Because why would you go?
Yeah, why would you? You got the best manager in the world, good wages, good
Keep winning.
Yeah.
I think the only thing is, and why players kind of look at flirting at leaving, like Gundogan left, Bernardo Silva, it's the older players that are looking at moving on. And I think ultimately it's because City's nobody's dream team.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Gundogan, he left City, but he went to Barca. And Barca aren't quite Barca anymore, but he's still playing for Barca.
name,
He's
Still Barcelona, innit?
So you still, I think that's the only thing that you could say is that City, now maybe in like 15 years when the new generation have come up, City are going to be a bit more of a dream team to play for. But at the moment you still have United, you still have Liverpool, you still have Real Madrid, you still have Barca, and probably Bayern, probably your 5 big like, dream to be play for that
get
team.
that on your CV.
No one grows up dreaming of playing for Manchester City. Like,
I mean, kids
they
now
probably do.
will
They
now.
probably do now.
Arsenal in the box, Odegaard.
can they snatch it?
Oh, squared it.
It's not a pen.
Tell you what, the stats just popped up then, and obviously, to be expected, City had 55% possession.
He's checking it.
Vieira checking this for Arsenal here.
Arsenal had 25 touches in the opponent's box, which will be more now.
No, he's got the ball.
Compared to
That's a great
City's 15, I think it said. City had 4 shots in total, Arsenal 11.
Yeah, he got the ball there. That was close though. It was close to
It wouldn't
that,
surprise me if they fucking give it.
I tell you what though,
Honestly, it wouldn't.
Send everyone.
I know they're at home. I know they're at home, but this is actually a good result for Arsenal because they've lost the last 12 to City.
12
in
on
the
the
league.
bounce.
In the league.
Yeah.
Obviously, they won the Community Shield game, but in the league they've lost. They haven't. We had a look in the car driving over. They haven't beaten City in the league since December 2015.
That is mental.
Arsene Wenger was still the manager.
Damn.
It's a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good to get the draw. Although it's not over yet. There's probably 10 minutes including added time.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if someone snatches a goal still. But to be honest,
somebody does, mate.
I mean, Manchester City had a pretty good first half. They were generally on the front foot.
think
But I'd say
Arsenal
this
have been
half,
better.
it's been Arsenal that have
I
generally
don't
doing.
know how that's not a foul. He fucking jumped all over him there.
Thatcher's.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I expected at least a couple of goals this game, but it's not happened so far, has it? So, I don't know if have we done one of these. Yeah, we did Van Persie against, I can't even remember, Kane. player showdown, right? This is we didn't do it on the first couple of episodes, but I thought whenever there's a couple big teams playing, we'll compare to the biggest players of all time. Arsenal got the ball on the edge of the box. Martinelli, 1-0 to Arsenal.
Deflection.
A big deflection, but a shot from Martinelli ends up in the back of the net.
Massive.
Wow.
Just as we were saying, a draw would be a huge result for them. They go 1-0 up against Manchester City.
That is actually huge.
Yeah, that is massive.
No way.
Wow. It's 1-0 to Arsenal at the Emirates.
They just seem to be getting these late goals the last couple of seasons. They just keep getting them.
Wow.
Like they did against, when we was here, when they did it against United, they got that last late one.
Oh, Faisal's going to be so gassed, man.
Fuck him.
Yeah, just try to imagine. So the Arsenal fans at the boys watching this, yeah, you could have been here celebrating right now, but you were too afraid you'd get battered.
You got no bottle.
No bottle. Yeah, 1-0 to Arsenal. I was not expecting that one.
No, I saw 0-0 in this, to be fair.
Martinelli the substitute, but obviously huge deflection. I mean, I don't. It was good from him on the edge of the box to actually get a shot on target though, instead of absolutely skying it.
Oh, my clean sheet's gone on fantasy now, don't it? Fuck's sake.
I know, I was kind of hoping for that.
I've
'Cause
got
I know a
Edison
few
and
people
Walker.
I know a few people had City defenders.
Oh,
Ake off his face,
yeah,
wasn't
straight
it?
off Ake's forehead.
Kai Havertz with the assist as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
King Kai.
Will that be? Can they even tell if
I
that's
don't
on
know if
target?
that's an OG or not.
Surely it is.
That was on target, wasn't it?
Yeah, it looked like it was on target, so it might count as Martinelli's, but
I don't know. It's a tough one. But fair play, it's gone in the back of the net
Yeah.
regardless. So
do you know what I was saying earlier though about if City lose today, it seems like such a huge result after losing last week. If they lose this to
Two
Arsenal
losses
now,
on the bounce, you don't hear that often.
No, not at all.
especially against the league contender, like
Yeah.
City might get a cheeky draw against someone lower in the league every now and then, but to be losing against
This is
Arsenal,
huge for Arsenal. The belief this will give them as well. Massive.
well, it's huge
Massive.
for Liverpool and Tottenham as well.
True. Yeah, true.
Look at Tottenham.
I never thought I'd be speaking about Tottenham like
Will
that.
Tottenham
Oh
still
my
be
God.
top with this?
yeah, they will.
City
Yeah,
Britain.
yeah, yeah.
Be a point above.
Be Postecoglou, is that you?
I'm loving big engines.
I like it though.
Ooh,
It's
that's
Oh, he
exciting.
seems like a good lad, doesn't he?
Oh fucking!
Yeah.
I tell you
Yeah.
what, Foden is different gravy. That was just disgusting.
Not happened really though, did it?
Also,
He just went, got fouled.
He's
Then
cynical, but he's just.
Also,
oh.
before we do this player showdown, how fucking good is Jude Bellingham, by the way?
Oh my God,
man.
yeah.
Scored
Two
two
more.
yesterday.
Ridiculous.
This kid.
That solo goal he scored during the
Oh,
week,
yeah.
that, like, because people have been saying he's scoring all these goals, but most of them are just like tap-ins. But that solo goal he
Yeah.
scored from running pretty much in his centre circle.
Against the Italian champions as well.
Jeez, it's mental.
He's ridiculously good in it,
Yeah.
and I don't think any of us expected him to do this well at
No.
Madrid. Obviously, we all had high hopes and we all want him to
Yeah,
do
of
well,
course.
but fuck
Well,
me.
I've seen something. I've seen something recently in his goal returns at the moment. The only player that's ever done that in their first kind of season or start from Madrid is Ronaldo.
Wow. And he's playing as an attacking mid.
Yeah, he's not.
so-
Whereas Ronaldo was obviously not a striker at the
was a
time,
winger at
but he
the
was an
time,
attacking
yeah.
winger. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, what a boy. But the player showdown. So we got Arsenal against Manchester City. Do you know, it was really hard to pick two players from this because I didn't want to make it obvious. I didn't want an obvious winner. So for this week's player showdown, we've got Yaya Toure against Patrick Vieira. So I don't know if anyone else wants to kick it off, but
I'll start.
Go on.
I had a look into it, and obviously I know with the positions that we're playing, it's not just all about goals and assists.
Mhm.
But I think it was in roughly about 100 games less Yaya Toure had in the Premier League and had more goals and more assists than him. That was just
Yeah.
one that I thought I'd throw in there.
yeah, definitely. I mean, Toure had much more attacking presence.
I love Toure.
I'm
I
going
love Toure.
Yaya, to be honest. I think
You're straight up,
I think
straight in there.
I think Yaya Toure is arguably a top 5 midfielder of all time in the Premier League.
No potential recency bias though, because you didn't see
Potentially a little
Vieira
bit.
as much.
I didn't see a lot of Vieira, and I fucking hated him because obviously United hated him. But I don't know. I think just Yaya Toure was just different. Like he had everything to his game. He had the attacking. He was able to break up players. He was just an unbelievable player, Yaya Toure.
Yeah, it's tough because obviously we can't really reference games that we've watched in which Vieira was a part of. I don't know if you personally can. I mean,
yeah.
you might.
Yeah,
be able
I mean,
to.
yeah, I love Yaya Toure, and I do think he is overlooked. You know, when you talk about the best midfielders like Gerrard, Keane, and he should be in there. But I think Vieira, what he did for Arsenal, he
Part of the invincible team.
He got them to that next level, and I think, you know, Man United had it with Keane, and Arsenal needed someone like that, and he stepped up and he dragged Arsenal. You know, they had like Henry and Bergkamp and all the flair players, but
it was at the spine.
I think he was special. I don't know. I just think because he didn't win the Champions League and things like that. I think people think, oh, you know, he's not this or the other, but he was a special player for Arsenal.
He was. And one thing I wanted to say on this is Vieira captained Arsenal for a number of years. And not only that, in his first couple of seasons there, he also won the World Cup with France. He won the Euros with France. So internationally, he was doing absolute bits as well, whilst captaining his team to an invincible season, etc.
I think he had more of an impact on Arsenal than Torre did on City, because City was that machine gathering pace.
I think that's a good way of looking at it, to be fair,
Although, like,
Torre had that one season away. Scored nearly every game. It was just crazy.
The stats then, if I played
he was a beast, wasn't he? He was a beast. He could do everything as well.
I think it's a tough one personally. So I'll give you a couple of stats on just what they did in the Premier League, because I think that's mainly what we're concentrated on. So in the Premier League, Torre had 230 appearances, 59 goals, 35 assists, in comparison to Vieira's 307 appearances with 31 goals and 32 assists. So in combined goals and assists, as you mentioned, Ellis, Vieira had 31 less than Torre in 77 more appearances, although some of those appearances did actually come when he went to Manchester City for a season, so, you know, he was there for a little bit. And then both players actually won 3 Premier Leagues in the time in the league, but Vieira was in the league for a lot longer than Torre was. And then Torre won 3 League Cups and 1 FA Cup, in comparison to Vieira just won 3. Oh, wait, no. Vieira just won 5 FA Cups. So overall, just 5. Just 5. 3 Prems and 5 FA Cups. So overall, Vieira actually won more trophies while he was in the Premier League. Admittedly, only by 1, but he still won more trophies.
He was in a better side.
He was here for longer. He was here for a few more seasons. But I think for me, do you know, I've been proper debating this one in my head, and I really wasn't sure which player I was going to go with. But after doing all that research, I think you can't deny a player that's captained his team to the only ever Invincibles team in Premier League history, and in his younger years at the club, won the Premier League a couple of times and won the World Cup and the Euros internationally. I've just got to give him his credit.
I'm taking Vieira, definitely.
I'm taking Vieira.
I probably prefer Torre as a player, like with his flair and stuff.
Oh, and
like
I remember Torre more, but it's like
that's probably it.
If you're taking over the armband from Tony Adams and then you make that your own armband,
it's your thing.
That's something special to do that as well.
I do think that Invincible season is slightly overrated.
Oh, mate.
I do as well, in terms of points.
Obviously, they were playing for it, and they got a lot of
Don't get me wrong,
draws.
it's very impressive the fact that they went a full season without losing, but the last few games they were playing for draws.
Well, yeah, but wouldn't you?
Yeah, but
You're going to play for draws. If you know you can, you're gonna.
But I don't know.
I think it's you're a better team if you accumulate more points.
I'd rather have the 100 point season.
I'd rather win a treble than do the Invincibles.
I think even Arsenal fans.
Obviously, I'd agree with that.
Well, they've won.
Oh,
Game
it's
over.
over.
Arsenal, the game finishes 1-0 against Manchester City at the Emirates. Boys,
12 games it's been across. How many seasons is that now?
it's been 8 years.
8 years. Fucking, it's been a long time coming for them, but that second half, I'd say they deserved it today.
Yeah, definitely. They stuck in the game in the first half and then had a much better performance in the second half. And a big deflection, but Arsenal were on the front foot for a lot of it.
Yeah. I think those sort of goals and those sort of wins, they can win you titles when you do get a big deflection or a late goal.
Season,
that's
can't
it.
They?
And I think that's been huge for Arsenal.
This keeps it interesting, doesn't it, guys?
Yeah.
It really does. Tight at the top. Long may it continue for all of them, hopefully.
Yeah, we love to see it. I mean, to be honest, as you said, I think staying in the game till that late is what makes the difference between a title contender and someone who's just floating around the top 4. And Arsenal, Josh, you mentioned it. They've managed to get these last-minute goals a number of times now.
So they did it last season as well. So I know they're obviously building.
It's really good
special.
mentality in it.
They are obviously building something special.
They just if they get to the top, they just need to get a lead. They need to get another lead, then don't they? And then just don't blow it like they did last season. But
hopefully they can take from last season and then just progress and hopefully improve.
Right then, boys. Well, I don't even know what game we're back for next. Let me have a quick look. So we hadn't actually decided this one yet. On the 21st, we either need to do Liverpool against Everton or Chelsea against Arsenal. That is a tough choice.
Is the derby, is that like 12:30 kickoff or something?
Yeah, they're both different kickoffs, but
Yeah.
I'm saying I can't do two.
Yeah, no, of course. Well, it's my birthday day after as well, so I'll be doing something on the evening. But we can
I'm thinking the Chelsea.
Is it
Arsenal
4:30?
game,
Yeah, it's not a late kickoff.
the London one.
Either way, we'll either be back for Liverpool against Everton or Chelsea against Arsenal on the 21st.
Two
That's
a
two
good
belters.
day,
We
that,
just
innit?
do like a 10-hour stream.
Oh wow, yeah.
Let's get a bucket in corner for this.
Simon, I kind of want you to be here for a Liverpool match just to see if you can utter a word
I
out when
don't think
they're.
I'll be able to do the evening kickoff on that day. if I'm
Okay,
honest, so
okay. Well, that
Just
might be the
let you know.
case then. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching.
Lovely.
Good one. Nice, boys.
Sweet.
Peace out.
Peace.